right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. As you can see, my eye is a little messed up. We had a dog training incident, not the Overlord, of course, but it's messing me up. But we are gonna fight through it. And speaking of which, we had, well, actually, we'll address that later. Today on the Culture War podcast, Dr. Drew and a couple of other not woke psychologists were there to really highlight what is the downfall of the field of psychology. As some of you know, I do have a degree in psychology, and I wanted to be a therapist when I was younger. But you know, between the internships I did while I was in school and after I graduated, I realized that it just wasn't something that I wanted to do, and it wasn't the magical thing that Dr. Drew made it seem like on TV with like Celebrity Rehab and stuff. So, with all that being said, there still is a lot of hard science in psychology. There's a lot of repeatable studies that have been done, but the way that psychology is typically applied today is just garbage. So let's dive right in. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Shout out to Open Therapy Institute, actually, OTI, Andrew Hart's in New York. He's amazing. He started Open Therapy Institute. They're actually offering a training for me about the mental health benefits of free speech, because therapists and clients can go there if they want, like, basically just non-woke therapy.
Can you out crazy someone to make them realize why they're crazy? Like if a guy came to you and said,
Tim goes on his wild rant, but like non-woke therapy. The fact that you have to have a special place for non-woke therapy is a big issue with the entire field.
Crazy someone to make them realize why they're crazy. Like if a guy came to you and said, I am a woman and I know I'm a woman, and then you were like, I know exactly what that's like. I'm a dragon. I'm a mythical dragon trapped in a human's body, and every day I suffer. I know exactly what it must be like for you.
So there is actually, if you're dealing with somebody that has a very severe delusion, like if somebody comes and says like, okay, so the little green men, are talking to me and it's driving me nuts. When they have a very severe psychotic disorder, it actually is helpful to avoid confronting it directly. At first, you might say things like, well, what did the little green men say? When did they first appear? What was going on in your life? So playing along for a deliberate, limited period of time for a therapeutic goal is sometimes does matter, to your point.
Like Shutter Island.
I don't know.
Sorry. Great movie.
Anyway,
what's Shutter Island?
He's what wasn't it like he's on his island investigating something, and then the big reveal at the end is that he's actually a mental patient, and they're allowing him to perform his delusion to see where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, a great movie where like the Leo DiCaprio movie where it opens up and he's on a boat with another detective going to this insane asylum trying to figure out a mystery. And spoilers, obviously Tim already spoiled it, but by the end of the movie, the investigation that they're going on is meant to show that Leo's character is not actually a detective. He is a patient at that asylum.
The big reveal at the end is that he's actually a mental patient, and they're allowing him to perform his delusion to see where it goes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so there is a value in that to a certain degree, but when it becomes the whole thing, and then to Naomi's point, you start saying, well, isn't it oppressive that the people around you don't see that as well? You're making the patient worse. Like you're cutting them off, you're deepening, you're colluding and reinforcing that delusion, as opposed to just exploring and probing the delusion so that you can think about how to help the person.
So a question for you guys. There's obvious schizophrenic delusions, like actual brain damage to delusions, where someone says little green men have been whispering in my ears. Mm-hmm. And what is that called?
Schizophrenia, psychotic disorder, delusion.
I mean, it would depend on how it manifests, but
psychotic disorders are alive and well and living on the streets of San Francisco and Los Angeles. The most common cause is meth addiction. Methamphetamine causes a severe psychosis. Wow. It can look like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a chronic illness, has some genetic basis to it. It's a specific thing. And out on the streets, it's hard to tell who's schizophrenic and who's a meth addict and who's bipolar mania. They can also be very wildly psychotic.
So the reason I ask that question is, what if the delusion is developed based on affirmation of falsehoods?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Right? Yeah.
What is that called?
Gender affirming care.
Like bad therapy.
Well, I mean, like, if someone comes to you and
that's exactly what I said when we first heard of this term, gender affirming care. Like that inherently is a bad thing because you're going in with the intention to go one way or the other. It should be gender assessing care. That would be actual therapy. But gender affirming means that you're going in already set with your conclusion.
Says Donald Trump is Hitler. And I heard he just sent in a bunch of white supremacists to kidnap children from poor working families on a produce farm. And this is for example, there was literally an ICE raid yesterday. It was a pot farm. They found child laborers, according to CBP. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but there were children there that are believed to be, forced to work there. And so there's an ICE raid to shut it down. Falsehoods are spread by the left intentionally to create
mass psychosis.
Yeah, I mean, but is it psychosis if their brain is of standard working order?
No,
but they believe.
Well, I think that would just be a cognitive distortion, right? Because we believe things that are false on a lower level all the time. Oh, my husband doesn't really like me because he, left the dishes in the sink or whatever. But the problem is that in therapy, if I come to you and I say my husband doesn't like me because XYZ, the therapist would presumably challenge the client. But when it is societal level conclusions, it is our job to then collude with the client in those delusions, so as evidenced by
when NBC is broadcasting and saying, for example, allegedly, just not necessarily, but like if the patient is hearing things on TV and then extrapolating and saying, well, the newsman said that it was adult laborers, but he blinked a certain way, so I knew it was really child laborers. Then it's a psychosis on the patient's part. But when the news is feeding people misinformation, then I think people are just the victims, actually.
What would you call that? If someone came to you and said, there are white supremacists currently occupying the White House, and they do Nazi salutes on a regular basis, I know this is true because I've heard
delusions of grandeur.
Heard it. And it's clearly not true. Like, there's a picture.
They're just under mind control. I mean,
but is there maybe I should use a more extreme example, like little green men.
Flat Earth is a good one.
Yeah, like something that we can discernibly say at a societal level, we have reason to, like, it's not true, easily disproven, but they're adamant that it is true. Is there
dogma? We all know that an unchanging or an unwilling claim that you're unwilling to question or move away from is dogma.
Is that it? I would call that delusional.
It is delusional. It's delusional, but it's not clinically relevant delusional. It's not something that you would necessarily treat in a therapist's office. You could, by just confronting it and talking about it and looking at it, examining it, and allowing.
I'm not sure what Tim is trying to get at.
I mean, the patient to kind of try to get to reality testing, but it is on a mass formation level.
But I have a feeling that if a client went to a therapist with a delusion that was not politically convenient, like, oh, Joe Biden is actually wearing a mask and he's dead or whatever have you, I think that there would be more clinical curiosity, like, you have gone down a road that seems to be maladaptive now. But on the other side, I don't see that. And it's because of the political bias that Claire is speaking to.
Yeah, one of the big differences as far as like a rubric, Tim, that you're talking about is, is what the patient is saying far outside of social norms, right? And I'm just saying
but Tim's trying to get at how, when social norms are divorced from reality, what do we do with that, and what do we call that?
Well, so a couple things. I was genuinely curious. Is there a term for when someone comes in and says the earth is flat and I know it?
Delusion.
So even though they're not psychotic, it's just that they watched a bunch of videos that convinced them.
Yeah, we just call it like a limited delusion.
Yeah.
Or indoctrination, and again, dogma.
And so then I suppose the issue then becomes, what is the action taken by a therapist if you, like, I suppose you put it well when you said it's political. If someone came in and said Trump is a white supremacist, the presumption of the medical board or whatever, California, is probably they're correct.
Exactly. Correct. Well, but if somebody just comes in and has like a limited delusion, you actually have to also, as a psychologist, ask yourself for ethical reasons, is this delusion interfering with their daily life? Is it causing them distress? Like, so if somebody comes to me for marital counseling and I discover that they also happen to be a flat earther, but it's not like related to anything else of why they're coming in, they're functioning fine, I have no business trying to, pull that string with them. But if they come in and they're like staying up all night because the earth is flat, they believe, and they are on a crusade and it's taking over their life, then I address it.
You guys should.
Yeah, there's a lot more to do, not just with the belief, but what that belief does to your actions.
Do in California. You should you're not in California, are you?
No, I moved to the free state of Florida.
Okay, that's better. But if you're in California and you have a therapy practice, set up little speakers in random places of the room. And then when anti-Trump people come in, have a button you can press that will make a random one have a Trump Like Trump speaks this as like, I'm in the room with you. And then when they say, did you hear that? You'd be like, I didn't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Out crazy, the crazy. Shout out to Liberty Plus TV. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Does he really believe in astrology? Where did you hear that? I don't know about all that. Then again, I wouldn't be all that surprised. If you're in this field, exactly what they're talking about is how influenced it is by woke ideology. So, I believe it, but at least where it counts, these guys seem to have it on point. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Oh, man. Well, they can't be all perfect. They can't be all perfect. Shout out to Bucks in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. I was wondering where the hell you guys were. So I would never talk to a therapist. I have real friends. Interesting. So that is going to our running poll. Would you see a talk therapist? Specifically said talk therapist because, if you're, like what they're talking about, having delusions of grandeur, something that's, something different, but just like as a way to have a place to, give out your thoughts and options being I would, but I never have. I would, and I have, and or do. I have been, I wouldn't do it again, or no, I would not. And Box said I would never. I have real friends. While I definitely agree that is a good thing, that you have to have a support system of people that you can talk to around you. Depending on the situation, I don't know how many of your friends are going to know the inner workings of the brain and psychology that well. So if you're not dealing with any issues, then I say totally good, but don't just brush it off. Don't just brush it off.
It's like, I'm in the room with you. And then when they say, did you hear that? You'd be like, I didn't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you must be delusional.
Yeah.
But Tim, you're digging into something that really fascinates me, which is what
astrology?
What is it about certain periods of histories that people are prone to mob behavior and hysterias and delusions?
Mm-hmm.
There are books about it. There's controversies around it, but there clearly are trends in history where it's funny. I was reading a book about 1935 Germany, and the Germans were talking about the hysteria that had captured Germany. I thought, oh, even that was a hysteria.
Yeah.
And what is it about our personality construct, our family experiences, our childhood experiences that sets that up? And humbly, I believe it is narcissism. When there's a huge narcissistic trend, there's a tendency towards envy. There's a tendency towards scapegoating. There's a tendency to mob together and then collectively act out your aggression on somebody, one. And it's a way of managing their own internal rage and aggression. And it's highly dysfunctional. It needs to be addressed for what it is. I'm a time traveler, Tim. I want
time traveler. Guys, if you could do me a huge favor and remember to hit that like button, it very much does help. Also, I get it, therapy can help people, but I feel like it has been taken over by feminists and more for profit than for care. Bingo. Right, and so that is exactly what we're talking about, is that having somebody to talk to or understanding the brain, doing studies about how different things affect people's behavior. That's not what's bullshit. What's bullshit is how it's been taken over. You hit the nail on the head.
Watch the diagnostic codes change on the admitting sheets at the psychiatric hospital across 30 years. And when I first got there in the 80s, it was all different kinds of personality spectrum. Towards the end of the 80s, borderline took over. And then by the 90s, it was only cluster B, which is the narcissistic disorder. And
and then you have your Gen X borderlines and your millennial narcissists.
Borderlines, when they came in, all had at least 5 lawsuits under their belt. At least. The legal system caught on to the fact that they were using the courts to act out. Then these same patients became lawyers and then judges and politicians.
Wow.
And so that's what we're dealing with now, and parents also. And so more narcissism, and we have to contain it. There's no other way of doing it other than containment. And then helping people lean into their phobias or whatever else going on.
I think the people in this country that don't suffer from this are too afraid to be called fascists.
That's right.
So they just say, well, we're going to let you do whatever you want.
Well, look at what happens when you speak up. I'm a young woman saying, hey, I don't want to be sexually harassed. And there is a pervasive anti-white, anti-male bias.
You're a bigot
in our institutions, and I was fired for it.
Well, it's like the emperor has no clothes, So Tim, like you were talking about,
we're all just supposed to pretend. Yeah, no, that's totally right.
Different types of delusions.
No, it's not.
I mean, we can look at the Nazi regime, right, as like a mass formation psychosis and it's what I fear is happening now, actually.
It happens in history periodic, and I thought we were done with it. I was so wrong.
No, I think it's
read Le Bon, read about it. It really, the Jacobins had it, the first real big version of it. It did not end well for them or anybody else.
Oh,
It doesn't go well.
Which is why it is so important for people to speak up. I mean, I'll just share as well. Like it was hard for me. I was telling, these two at breakfast, like the reason I wrote my book about the mental health benefits of free speech is because I used to just try to really toe the line in the media, not say anything that would, get me blacklisted from media and journalists. And then when it came to COVID and it came to masking kids, I couldn't keep it in. And so I wrote this blog about the harms of masking kids.
And that's a common thing that you see where it's like, okay, the system, whatever system you're talking about, the system isn't perfect, but there's value here. So we'll go along with this, ignore that thing. But eventually it gets to a point where it's too much to ignore.
And I shared it with a couple colleagues to just say, like, am I missing something here? Like, what's going on? And they wrote back and they were like, no, everything you're saying is correct, but you should not share the blog because it could keep people from masking their kids. And I was like, okay, this is nuts.
That is.
I know.
I think we're cooked.
It's almost like that was the point.
So I shared the blog and, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya picked it up, all these people. And then I felt this weight lifted off of me. I was having deeper conversations. My own thought process was deepening. That's what led me to be interested in the mental health benefits of free speech. So I just really encourage people to say it, whatever it is, say it, because repression, suppression, denial, for whatever reason, psychologists are not talking about the harms of those things. They're talking about the harms of hate speech and bullying. And anything you say that they disagree with, of course, is labeled as hate speech and bullying. So, I mean, I'm not in favor of hate speech and bullying, but I just think we have to be bold and just whatever it is,
It's anti-science too. It's
Gotta be bold and have balls.
It's not to have discourse, not to have debate.
Well, the thing is, I think most people actually agree because there's you see the
silent majority,
the few people who speak out, who break from the tribe, and they get punished. But I was punished to warn other people not to speak out. That was what happened. I mean, so I went to this struggle session right before I got fired, and after the meeting, the director was like, "I'm not going to fire you. You did a great job. You balanced your personal experiences with your philosophical concerns. All good." He calls me 2 hours later and says, "It's not tenable for you to work at the organization because of the intolerance of my staff."
Wow.
And he was given a warning from the staff. You better fire her or else. And everybody else in that meeting, I was made an example of.
You got to,
the mob takes over. That's democracy, baby.
I wish I was in that position as your boss, because the moment someone came to me and said, if you fire her, or if you don't fire her, I quit, I'll be like, there's the door.
I think they would.
I'd actually be like, you're fired, out.
I think the staff would be cut in half. I really do.
Good. Bye.
Yeah.
Go on welfare, I guess.
That's the containment. That's what needs to happen. And,
So,
Mark Chankisi is a cognitive psychologist, and he keeps wanting to emphasize that a lot of this stuff is not just top down. It's also bottom up. It's people during COVID reporting their neighbors for having barbecues, for not masking their kids, for being a prison guard and reporting when somebody's hiding somebody in the attic.
Right. And so where psychology has value is being able to understand, number one, why people would do that. And number two, being able to identify the types of people that are more likely to engage in that kind of behavior.
You're the people that would be the prison guard. You who did that. If you yelled at somebody,
Talking about the Stanford prison experiment, if you're not familiar, they gathered a bunch of college students, and it was a completely voluntary thing. And I think they might have gotten like $20 or something, but the money was not relevant for what happened. And they split up the group, and half of them were prisoners, and half of them were the prison guards, and they were just supposed to live like that for a month, and they had to shut down the entire program early because the guards just became completely authoritarian and fascistic and straight up brutal. They're beating the shit out of the prisoners and stuff. It was not good. And these are just people that were friends with the other group of people weeks before.
what was this? Somebody was sharing with me before I came in here. A woman was committed for having shot somebody for not wearing his mask. Security.
What?
You hear about this? Maybe
the New York
Post
Post
can bring it as in the Post.
Yeah,
or you got to look it up.
It.
But the point is that
really?
you would
People could get hurt from COVID, so I'm gonna kill you.
be the prison guards. You think you'd fight the Nazis? No, you would be the prison guards. You have to understand that about yourself. And if, by the way, in the position of your boss, say, was listening to the bottom-up hysteria, if you didn't stand up to that, you would be a Nazi sympathizer. You would be in the
We
system.
can all fall prey to it. So one of the things
That's an important point too, that just because you're not on that side with the circumstances that we have, don't think that you couldn't be there. That's one of the things from Jordan Peterson that actually stuck is being able to recognize that we all have the capacity to be monsters and the responsibility to control that.
I also researched a little bit is groupthink, right? So we all, I think, know what groupthink is. And I looked at there's 7 main factors that contribute to groupthink. One of them is actually self-censorship. And then another one is called the illusion of unanimity. So Naomi, at your job, for example, I guarantee you there were a few other people, as you said, maybe even half, that would have taken your side. But if they stay silent, then it just seems as if, oh, everybody feels this
What is it?
way.
The Azure conformity experiment?
Oh, that's in my book too.
Where they convince, they have one subject and a bunch of Confederates. So the subject comes into a room like this, and the teacher goes, all right, which line is longer? And he has a very short line and 3 longer ones, and the whole room shows the short line is longer. They conform. Yeah.
There's a really fun video you guys probably have seen before where there's a person sitting in a chair, and I forget how they frame it, but the subject is a single person who walks into the room. It's a doctor's waiting room, and there's one person sitting in a chair, and they sit down. After a few minutes, there's a loud beep on the PA, and the person sitting down stands up for about 5 seconds and then sits down.
Oh, yeah.
The subject looks and is just seemingly confused.
Everybody starts.
Another person comes in and sits down.
Yeah.
After a little bit, there's a beep. Both people stand up. The subject looks around confused. After like 5 or 6 more people start doing it, the subject begins just repeating the behavior, not knowing why. Now, the sad thing is,
no, I understand exactly what I just said, that we have to all understand our own capabilities and lack thereof. But I cannot imagine being in that situation where there's a buzzer going off and people are standing up and reacting to it and just starting to do it without being like, yo, what is that? I can't fathom it. So who is that, Box, or is that Liberty? Who's here right now? We got one person right here. We've got no likes. We've been going for a little while, and I don't know if you saw before, I fucked up my eye and I'm not feeling well. So if we don't pick up by 8:30, then I think I'm just gonna call it. Box said we used to fake farts and laugh at people who covered their face. Similar concept, but at least then you have the situation where you've heard and smelled farts before. So if you've never been in a doctor's office where people are standing up because of a beep and you don't ask why there's a beep, then what are we doing? Thank you, brother. Thank you. But I mean, still.
there's a good reason, and you guys are the experts, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a good reason humans do this.
I was going to just cancel it, but I have work next weekend and a lot, and I might skip that Friday. So I wanted to come through, but I'm really not feeling it. And as much as I love you, buddy,
Bad thing is, there's a good reason, and you guys are the experts, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a good reason humans do this. If you are standing in the middle of the woods and a person is screaming and running in a direction, you're going to go, okay, and run with them.
Yeah.
Because turns out there's a boulder rolling down the hill or something. But and then
right. And so the psychological factor in that has an evolutionary purpose, but the consciousness of the fact that we're not on the plains of Africa should be enough to be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, shout out to Indie Fam over on Rumble. Welcome. I'm doing my best, guys, but I fucked my eye up, and for some reason it's making my nose run and everything. I am not feeling hot, but we are gonna try to push through it.
To go okay and run with them because turns out there's a boulder rolling down the hill or something. But and then it turns into this mass formation psychosis where my buddy Luke was in Germany, in Hamburg, during the G20 protests. And he's a journalist. He's not, his politics is libertarian. He was walking down the street with another German journalist, this guy named Max, and a random person pointed and yelled, Nazi Schweinhund.
Oh, wow.
And random people ran up and started punching and beating the crap out of him for no reason. That's it. And then the guy's knees got busted up. He had to get, I guess, surgery later on. Luke was fortunately roughed up, but okay.
Moral superiority is one of the other factors in groupthink. So social justice warriors is kind of when you have that sense that, you are morally superior, then it speeds up the groupthink process.
So,
yep. And then applying that to the wokeness not being just on the left, we see the people who like, oh, you don't know it's the Jews. You must be stupid. I'm better than you. I'm superior to you. And then that comes with a moral judgment as well.
Oh, I think the internet is largely driving the psychosis and the mass formation psychosis.
Really helping.
Yeah.
But before you say that, I want to say, though, that the other thing about that experiment you talked about with the people standing and sitting, it's hypnotists use it as a way of determining who's the easiest to hypnotize.
Yeah.
Right.
And somebody who starts standing up quickly, that's somebody who's going to be easily hypnotized.
So one thing I've been talking about quite a bit since the 4th of July is that I went back to Chicago, landed at Midway, which I'd never done before, but I grew up 2 blocks away. So when we were leaving, we were like, we'll just drive to the neighborhood because it is to go through the neighborhood is on the way to get to the highway. And we drove past the old park a couple blocks from my house and Jimmy Dore's house, by the way. It's shy. Jimmy Dore and I live next to each other. It's kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 blocks away. He's older than me. So I was a small child when he left, but
That's running my own Wilson. Wow.
it's kind of crazy.
Yes.
The baseball fields are overgrown and nobody was outside. As an aside, I mentioned there were soccer nets there now, like the culture has changed. But the important thing I'm bringing up to now is that there was nobody there. And I was shocked because when I was a kid on the 4th of July, when you walked outside, there were coolers everywhere. There were folding chairs. Baseball games were happening. Everyone was outside. Now nobody's outside. And I asked my friends, I was like, dude, what's going on? Where is everybody? And they all just said, inside on the internet, I guess.
Yeah.
That's all anyone does. So what I see is happening with mass formation psychosis is communities used to be localized around the regional work, the resources the region had, and their interests were based on where they were. So the Rust Belt, they were very concerned about auto manufacturing and the election, and that's what they wanted to hear about. But the farms in Nebraska were like, well, we have no idea what that is. Now, I think there's a better way to describe this as a meme on 4chan, where it said 1994, some kid says, I'm sexually attracted to toasters, and then his dad smacks him at the side of the head and says, stop being weird, and he stops.
Good
2024, he says he's attracted to toasters, goes on the internet and finds a toaster fetish community, and now he's going to toaster conventions to bang toasters.
Sounds about right.
Collective rationalization is another one of those main ingredients of groupthink, and you're totally right
Yeah, so collective rationalization. Rationalization meaning basically just spinning up a narrative in your mind to allow you to go along with something that you shouldn't go along with. And that can manifest in a million different ways. For me, when I was in the throes of my addiction, then I would tell myself that, oh, it's not that big of a deal if you do this, that, because of whatever reason, when in fact it is a big deal to be doing drugs, especially while you are an active addict.
Internet makes it a lot easier to like find your tribe with that. And Drew, like you were saying too about with the Ash Line experiment, I talk about that in the book too. To me, it's super interesting where we go from consciously accommodating the group, because in that experiment, most of the people afterwards said, yeah, I knew which line was longer, but I just didn't want to stand out. And then you progress to where it's unconscious. And there's some other experiments that I describe where the more often you do it, the more you start to stand up and sit down and raise your hand, the more you start, because of something called cognitive dissonance, start adapting your thoughts to accommodate your repetitive behaviors.
And your community, and the community you're now part of.
You know what I actually think, to get a little political? I think many Democrats recognize this. They are very lucid. And they think to themselves, if this is how people are going to behave, why not just control it and have these people serve me?
Yep, and this is a very, not to get religious, but this is a common and fair aspect of Christians calling out atheists and being like, well, if you don't have any moral structure, then why don't you just do bad things? And that's a bad question because it assumes that the person wants to do bad things. But that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of people who think exactly that. There's no consequences for anything except for, if I get caught. So I'm going to do whatever I want. And that is why we need, whether you are a believer in Christianity or anything else or nothing else, that we need to have a moral structure that applies to everybody and not only tells you what is right and wrong, but gives you a reason to do what is right and not do what is wrong. And so, yeah, same thing with me, Box, and doing bad things makes me feel bad. And for those of us who are this way, then we don't need some overarching consequence structure. We understand that, like, I just want to do good because it feels good, and I don't want to do bad because it feels bad. But not everybody's like us. Not everybody's like that.
That's exactly what they're doing. I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think it's very clear, and that's why they want to shut down free speech.
They want to keep people in the psychosis so that they can control the narrative of the psychosis and then have good little worker bees to facilitate their system.
And the left is, and I mean, this is just a fact, and it has strengths and weaknesses, but the left is a more collectivist mindset, and the right is a more individualist mindset. So the left is just naturally set up for exactly what you're describing.
And it seems like now the psychological professions they're being mobilized to encourage it, because the people at the very, very top encourage the groupthink by definition. And so they are being ushered to positions of power. And now these people who want to shut down free speech, who live in their collectivist mindsets, they're going to be in control of our psyches. They want to be.
And guys, don't forget, it is a peanut butter night. Morty can get his peanut butter if we reach the swole goal with his 15 donations or a $50 total.
Study your history, everybody.
In the midst of a mental health crisis.
It always works like that. They bring them in. Again, Mao, that's what he did.
And go to freespeechtoday.com, because that's where I wrote my book, as well as free articles and stuff on the topic for people that want to learn more about it. I talk about free speech, obviously saying what you want, but the other side is important too. It's called listening resiliently. So we have to also be able to hear people say things. Like, we had some disagreements this morning, right? I mean, Tim, people have disagreements on your show all the time, and it's what makes it interesting.
One thing that I think has been a common occurrence, but one thing I brought quite a bit is, there was this video I saw months ago. It's probably 7 months ago. I was on YouTube, and there was a video, and it was Tim Pool debating Cenk Uygur, which I'm like, when? Like, because we did it here. Someone took clips of me from a random show and clips of Cenk from a random show, put them together to make it sound like we were debating, and got like 50,000 views. And so that is one phenomenon where the question is, what happens to society when this is rewarded? And it is. And what drives a person to do it? What are the motivations? I think we can infer those, but it's interesting to discuss. And then after that is, what happens when someone can just AI generate the debate in 2 seconds that will get the desired reaction from the desired tribe?
I think there's actually going to be a period of AI debate video content that isn't necessarily the worst thing. Because, for example, my part 2 of my thing with Andrew Wilson dropped today, and a lot of people were talking about that. And I've always said that Alex O'Connor, the cosmic skeptic, would be the best debate opponent for Andrew Wilson. And while, of course, I would rather see a real Andrew Wilson and a real Alex O'Connor, if the AI is good enough, then there's definitely at least something to talk about with an AI generated debate, if it's good enough.
So,
well, the healthy response to anger is to seek justice and demonstrate boundary setting behaviors. And that's why, to your point, I think it's so interesting that people want to cut up clips and do clickbait that's designed to make people angry, because when we get angry, like, we start naturally making fists, our energy goes up, we get ready to
make a fist and smash the like button
to do something. So that's exactly how you mobilized your audience to get them, very engaged.
So I suppose I bring it up is, what I'm describing is obviously a microscopic version of what Trump goes through every single day. Not to be overtly political, but I'm a political guy. But like when they showed him dumping the fish food, 8 years ago, and it was edited, so if those don't know the story, Shinzo Abe dumped food into the koi pond. Trump looked at him and then followed suit and did the same thing. The video got edited, I think, by ABC to zoom in on Trump, so you only saw him do it, and then they insulted him for having done it because it's improper. That creates a delusion. And so where we are as a nation is, we have 10 years now of this. So what is the saying? Every 7 years, every cell in your body has been completely regenerated and you're an entirely new person. The ship of Theseus, I suppose, of people.
Yeah, in case you haven't seen that, this is what they are talking about. You have this.
Dumped a box of CNN edited a video to make it appear as though Trump impatiently dumped a box of fish food into the water in Japan. The full video showed Trump had simply followed the lead of Japan's prime minister. In June 2017, NBC News reported that Russian President Putin said he had compromising information about Trump. Actually, Putin said the opposite.
Do you have something damaging on our president?
Well, this is just not a load of nonsense. Where would we get this information?
The New York Times and CNN shared a story with photos of immigrant children in cages. It turns out the photos were from 2014 during the Obama administration. In November.
I mean, you guys get the point. Fake news is fake news is fake news is fake news. That is not news.
2019 news.
7 years, every cell in your body has been completely regenerated and you're an entirely new person. The ship of Theseus, I suppose, of people. What happens when the core of someone's psyche is 10 years of manipulated, delusional information. And then today,
you get the Gen Z stare.
the example I brought up, the guy who made a fake video of me debating Cenk. And there's a bunch of these videos where the title is completely false. And then it will be a real clip from one of my shows. And the comments are all like, okay, this is clickbait. This is fake. The title and the thumbnail are fake, but the video is real. These people are doing this, in my opinion. I believe their motivation is this is the only path towards monetization and recognition in an attention economy. And they don't care how they get it.
And that is going to directly affect how people behave. This is why we can't divorce what people believe from what people do.
So what we're now seeing is, have you guys seen the videos, the trend where people grab gallons of milk at Walmart and bash themselves with it?
Hey, shout out to Matthew King. Welcome to the party. I know it started a little bit early. Where the fuck you guys been? I fucked my eye up. I got scratched by a dog. Luckily, it was on the lid and not in my eye. But it's been fucking up my sinuses, and I don't know. I've just been feeling like shit all day. So I'm glad you guys are here. I need that energy. Give me the energy. I will give it back to you.
Have you guys seen the videos, the trend where people grab gallons of milk at Walmart and bash themselves with it?
Fortunately, no.
All right, let me pull it up. This is a better example. Milk Walmart.
There we go. Matthew said liked and shared. Again, you guys know how much that helps. Even if you don't think that anybody is going to click on the link that you shared, just by you telling YouTube, I want more people to see this, they will show it to more people. Thank you, sir, and welcome to the party.
I just search for that and you'll find one of them. There's 800,000 videos of this. Maybe I can find it on, I don't know if it'll be on YouTube. Man, splashes. There's all different kinds of this where like some kids will slam them on the ground and then slip on them on purpose. There's one where a guy, okay, Twitter's just all gay porn. It's just a bunch of gay porn.
I have no issues. Let's see. Let's search dumping milk prank. Actually, you know what? Just in case. We want to test. So I'm going to search that. Where the hell did it go? And I doubt that anything is going to come up. Dumping milk prank. Yep. So like I can, that's why I normally don't mind searching stuff. I was a little scared there, but you know, what's in your algorithm where you're getting all of this porn on X? I don't see that ever. I mean, I have seen it before, but self-snitching. Shout out to Tag. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. Good to see ya. We're talking about how psychology itself is not the problem. It's the co-opt, the feminist woke co-op of the use of psychology. That is really fucked up. We got Dr. Drew and some other people here to talk to us about how it's important to be able to understand these psychological things, these patterns, the way people think and why people behave the way that they do. Namely,
okay, you typed in milk Walmart man.
Why people are dumping milk on themselves in Walmart.
It's a different type of video.
But I got to be honest, the reason why whenever we pull stuff up on X on Timcast IRL, I search for it on the private screen, not the main screen, is because I can search for like Trump speech, and then there'll be like 7 videos of Trump, and then like sex all over the platform, which is not.
Put a 1 in the chat if you have that kind of experience on X.
Good.
Your algorithm, Tim. That does not happen to me.
What's he?
Say. Tim's a dirty boy.
All over the platform, which is
That's
not good.
Your algorithm, Tim. That does not happen to me.
Well, to your point though, Tim, about
box, what you looking up, brother? What you looking up?
Brain and just people regenerating themselves essentially, and like building on top of building. I think as well, there's been this incredible decline of religiosity. And what's interesting is that religiosity, even actually no matter what the religion, has been shown to be a protective factor in mental health. Yet you will never see the American Psychological Association having a go to your house of worship month for mental health.
Well,
right?
And I agree with this. Given this, the society that we have right now, I am trying to build a society where that is not the only option, because right now that seems to be the only option. And it is not an option for many of us who have been there. And just like those of you who have tried therapy and would never go back, same thing with church. And so I'm trying to build something, at least a runway to something where everybody can be included without the church. But not bad advice.
Association having a go to your house of worship month for mental health.
Well,
right? And that core of religion is what is supposed to kind of hold
Anchor.
people in. Yeah.
Check out this clip.
Believe you can do it. You gotta believe you can do it. You gotta believe you can do it. Don't worry about if she don't believe you can do it. Don't worry about if he don't believe you can do it. It don't matter if they don't believe you can do it. You gotta believe you can do it.
And so again, the context being that this is the psychology is that I want this attention, and even though without the camera and social media, I would never in a million years do this, because that attention is there. Now I'm incentivized to behave differently. And so, like when people say TikTok is just girls shaking their asses. Yup, self-snitching. I get mostly politics, a lot of dating stuff, and then some, like funny skits and stuff. But that's mostly it. I don't get any kind of thirst traps, because if they come up, I swipe past them, because that's not what I'm trying to see. I'm not mad at it, but not trying to see it all the time.
You gotta think you can do it. You gotta feel like you can do it. You gotta constantly tell yourself you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
All right, Shia LaBeouf.
You can do it. And that's the truth.
I think
So,
people are
that's
broke.
the
I think people
truth.
are
I love that
broken.
That's the truth.
That
Oh my
is
God.
Have you seen those videos before?
astonishing.
So this is just one example. It's a trend where people will take jugs of milk, jump up on the counter, and scream like, I'm a big boofy baby, and then they'll splash the milk on them, because it gets them views, it gets them attention.
Yeah.
I think the internet, the algorithms,
has destroyed our brains. Matthew never tried therapy personally. Could have used it a few times over the years. It's really helping my homie from work. Feel like you need to want it to work for it to work. Yeah, that seems like a thing that's like, oh, so it doesn't really work. Because like when you talk about these fake churches or these spiritual healers that say, well, you have to believe or it's not going to work. And the reason that this is an okay thing to apply to therapy is because we admit, I say we, but you know, the purveyors of therapy admit that it is something you have to be engaged in. And so similar to like going to AA, you could go to AA all you want, but if you don't actually want to work the steps and do, you know, what needs to be done to get sober, it's not AA's fault that you're not getting sober.
have basically trained humans. This is how you get attention, fame, and money.
Yeah.
And so now you're getting all of this just absolutely psychotic behavior from humans who are desperate for this.
Yes.
And kids are going to grow up watching it. I said before, I think we're cooked, and I'll add to this. When kids were being masked,
Mr. Gen Z, we're cooked, bro.
schools, and schools were being shut down.
Diabolical.
We're now seeing the aftermath of this, where teachers are saying the fifth graders can't read.
Yep.
There was one.
They're saying the eighth graders can't read.
A person as a high school teacher saying these kids literally can't read. They struggle to read at all.
They can't
And
read faces either.
they can't read faces because of the masks. So they stare at you while you're talking. They can't understand what you're saying. Now you have stuff like this. You know, let me be optimistic in how bad it is. The people who are weak-willed will perish, and those of strong mental fortitude and will make it through. But this is going to be a great downturn.
Yeah, especially with AI. You
Yep.
see the quality of academic work going down too. And I mean, if you go on AI and use it to talk to it, you could see how a kid might actually develop a relationship with that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
in fact,
Yep.
they're trying to do that already. There's I forget what it's called, but there's a company that is now selling AI companion bots to schools because the schools don't have enough funding for counselors. And I tried some of these AI therapy bots for a while, and two of them just straight up asked me if I wanted to be more than friends. Yeah.
Damn, ladies can't even get away from the creepy dudes in AI.
Oh.
It's getting so weird.
It's
and
getting really weird.
And then they're going to make robots. And then so already, this is crazy.
I know one of you would fuck a robot. Oh, we're getting a hungry dance. Don't forget 99 cents gets Morty a treat, and it is a peanut butter night. So if we hit the swole goal, then Morty gets his peanut butter.
This is a year ago or two now. There's a video game called Skyrim. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. In the game, your character, it's a first-person game where you can get swords and you have magic and you throw fireballs. You can get companions. Someone modded the game to connect ChatGPT to the female companion.
Oh, okay.
So with a headset on the microphone, you can now speak to the companion and have a seemingly infinite number of interactions as if it's a real person. It used to be when the game came out, you'd walk up to the person, press X or whatever, and then you'd get
Press F to doubt.
a dialogue option. You could say one of 5 things, and they would give you a handful of responses. Now with ChatGPT plugged in, you would just say literally anything you want. What do you feel like eating? And then the AI companion says, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps we can get some elk.
Yeah.
People are so my prediction was within a year or two, maybe less. It could happen literally now if someone wanted it to happen. People are going to have server-based real-time relationships. These apps that people have where you can sext with a robot, it's just a chat bot texting you. And there's an avatar of a female on it, whatever.
I remember when there was that girl, I won't bring up names, but that girl, if you know, that girl that was in Discord, she's been on the channel and, we were talking for a little bit and she lived, within a reasonable range from where I live. So I felt like we were talking for real. Then I figured out she went into a different server and started talking to some other dude in a different state and she liked him better, I guess. And she started Discord dating. And I thought that was cringe. But at least it was another human on the other side.
But they could, if they wanted, right now, develop a video game program or whatever program on your computer where you could actually have an app on your phone and call this AI personality, and it could store your relationship in on the hard drive, and you can say, "Hey, babe, what are you doing?" And it could this person, this woman,
just in the shower,
fake AI person, can exist in any reality. What I saw from the Skyrim thing, I think the future of video gaming is going to be. You're going to turn the game on. The game could probably itself be AI generated rapidly, but that's another whole other point. But the characters in the game will act like they know you, will share memories with you. And even when you're not playing the game, you'll be at work and you'll be like, hold on, I gotta text my girlfriend and tell her to harvest the cows.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, hey, I think the cows are full grown, ready to go. I got a notification. Can you harvest them for the beef? Okay.
And you thought Farmville on Facebook in 2005 was bad. Oh boy.
Now, when you get home, you turn the game on and all the beef is ready to go in your inventory. And people are going to treat these like real people.
Exactly. Naomi and I were actually talking at breakfast this morning, even about even with TV, something as simple as TV, that when your brain sees the same friendly faces like that show Friends over and over again, and you start having like little laughs with those people, and you feel like that. Your brain actually starts to light up and respond in some sense the same way as if when you have an actual real friend. And what you're describing is of course even deeper. And then meanwhile, in real life, we're stripping away like what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman or like people's roles in actual society. And I think that's just making people even more vulnerable, not to mention
the beauty standards. Shout out to Bryson. Welcome to the party. So I'd full Nelson fuck a robot over. Wait, what? I'm gonna assume that's a typo and say I'd full Nelson a robot over a coffee table if I could afford it, but I can't. I can dream though. Seriously, transhumanism is not that far away. Not at all. Not at all. And some people argue that we are already there. There was a time when we used to be able to memorize a bunch of phone numbers. How many phone numbers do you store in your meat memory versus your digital memory? So what is full Nelson fuck and full Nelson F? What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Of course, there's a huge monetizing machine that is behind this AI robot stuff. Like the more that they can get you hooked, like next thing to Naomi's point about the apps, you're paying $9.99 a month.
What happens too because if you use these AI robots, they affirm pretty much anything that you say.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the therapists.
And who is the type of not to be rude, but like who is the type of person who is going to be inclined to have a video game girlfriend? Like probably people who are already mentally vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to go and see, just like that. It's like those people are susceptible to this. And now we're just going to abandon them and let them live in delusion and let their AI girlfriend bring them deeper into delusion.
That's
like
plan.
what
I think
what we're
and I mean, I think that we're already seeing shit, what did you just say?
Those people are susceptible to this. And now we're just going to abandon them. And
So I think this is going to result in something I've talked about in a different context, but a gap, a chasm in the types of people in society, where right now there's a spectrum of people. There's smart to dumb, there's religious to atheist, there's nice to mean, whatever you want to say. But I think this AI thing, that it's going to take such a large portion of the society, and they're going to go down this rabbit hole, for lack of a better term. And there's going to be everybody else. And because these people are so far down, it's going to be easier to compete with them. And so these people are going to be way up here. And so then there will really be no middle class. And I'm not just talking about money.
It's arrogant of us to interfere with them. And who are we to impose that on them?
Right. So I just clicked a link that was on Google. It says guy dumps milk on himself at Walmart. And here is just 12 videos of the exact same thing, of random people grabbing milk at Walmart and smashing themselves with it. I think these people should all be involuntarily committed.
I mean, I don't know about all of that. I personally believe in liberty, but far be it for me, Tim.
That's the whole thing, exactly where we're going, is that committing people, or like labeling them as mentally ill or mentally incompetent, is now coming to be seen as stigmatizing them.
Well, that's exactly what Tim just tried to do. He just tried to be like, oh, we should get rid of these people in a negative way, because he knows that these people understand what they're doing. As we said before, they wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the camera and the social media. They're specific, and as stupid as it logically follows it. If I act stupid on camera and post it on the internet, then people will see it, and I will get money from that. You don't lock people up for doing logically stupid shit unless it's against the law.
Right. And then, of course, when we also don't require them to be responsible to pay for their own housing, their own food, and we say, like, well, there's got to be a basic income. We're, divorcing rights and responsibilities, and we think we're doing something compassionate, but it's actually enabling, I think, the unraveling.
Look at this.
Do not commit suicide, even if you get bullied. Do not commit suicide, even if you find your teeth in that situation.
So one thing I talked quite a bit about, I covered
episode 12.
Man, this is going on 7 years ago, was ElsaGate. You're all familiar with ElsaGate?
No.
Yep.
In 2018, YouTube had this problem where
I remember. Yep.
So as a new father myself, we went out to get hot pot yesterday. You guys ever have hot pot? Shabu shabu. Amazing. You get a boiling pot of soup, and then you get a bunch of meat.
So
but
Korean barbecue.
unfortunately, the baby was upset.
Fondue or Korean barbecue?
Because we weren't paying attention to her. And so every time we went to go eat, she'd cry. And then if we paid attention to her, she would smile and giggle. Because babies want attention, that the child is trying to learn. What parents do now, and we won't do this, is they just put the tablet for the baby and then go about their business.
Evil.
Bruh. You can always tell, too. You can always tell which kids, because I worked in restaurants for a long time, but it was really when the iPad thing, the iPad kid thing was just starting to tick up. And so, one, you didn't see it as much, and two, there wasn't as much of a stigma around it. But now you can tell from the moment they walk in the door. If there's let's say it's a family of 4 and there's 2 kids, you can tell the difference between who is going to sit down and immediately put an iPad in front of their kid or a phone in front of the kid, and who's not. You like 90%. I would put money. They walk in the door, iPad kid or not. Bryson said, "Money the water more. Keep the water muddy." That's what I'm seeing happening. Yep.
In 2018, people started to notice a bunch of videos on YouTube. First, it started with these, it's Elsa, Spider-Man, and the Joker running around for half an hour doing weird, nonsensical slapstick and no dialogue. And people noticed that they'd have millions of views and the comments would all be gibberish. Nobody understood why that was happening, and it was very strange.
It's a baby.
A bunch of wild theories about YouTube algorithm stuff. People started to figure out, wait a minute, YouTube is auto-recommending these videos to babies because the parents would press play on an Elsa video singing, hand the tablet to the baby and leave, and the video would then autoplay anything with Elsa in it.
That's crazy. Like, I understand that not everybody is as online and familiar with these platforms as we might be, or as I might be. But I personally turn off autoplay on YouTube just because it's annoying that if I finish a video, like maybe I'm not ready for the next video, or maybe I want to pick something that's on the side, or I don't want it automatically to go to the next video. Usually I'm watching on a playlist anyway, but I can't imagine just like, yeah, just whatever comes up next for my child. I don't have a child, but if I did, it would be only videos that I've seen that I've put on a playlist that it is locked and you can't, you can't touch it and get away from it. It's only what's on the screen something that I've seen and I've personally programmed. Yeah, this was wild.
And the reason there was gibberish is because the babies were smacking the screen. What happened, though, is there started to emerge these computer-generated, automatic, procedurally generated videos that these companies would make tens of thousands of them, upload them, and then based on the reaction to the YouTube algorithm, the program would make more of those videos. So let's say you made 5 videos and one.
Let's do a little side quest here and see, in case you're not familiar.
The controversy we'll be revisiting today is an unsettling incident YouTube would prefer we forget ever happened. Easily one of the most disturbing and consequential PR disasters in YouTube's history. ElsaGate. This story was massive, and for good reason. Back in 2016, the lid was blown on a site-wide operation. A ring of channels had been making content targeting children that contained violence and highly suggestive sexual themes.
Check this out, new at 4 o'clock. Sex, drugs, and scary videos on a popular children's app. Inappropriate videos have infiltrated YouTube Kids, often showing popular children's characters in violent and even sexual scenarios.
This salacious material deceptively found its way to the screens of kids, with creators using sneaky methods to get clicks. They used iconic kid-safe characters like Spider-Man, Dora the Explorer, and of course, Elsa to bait in young viewers. The discovery of this unsavory ring of creators generated disgust around the YouTube community, and it wouldn't be long before a moral panic ensued. Something had to be done about this. From traumatized children to outraged parents to multi-million-dollar government fines being issued at YouTube, this is the dark legacy of ElsaGate.
And so, I mean, we don't have to go through the whole thing. Well, let's see. Is there anything crazy in here?
Kids app. One such channel highlighted by The Guardian was called Webs and Tiaras. This channel was notorious for featuring the various antics of a group of unknown actors dressed as Spider-Man and Elsa.
We've got a Frozen movie, superheroes. It's cool. It's fun. The kids out there having fun. 115 million views in 1 month. Very suspicious stuff.
Suspiciously going from 0 subscribers to 1 million in a matter of months, this channel employed thumbnails often depicting characters getting impregnated and being injected with needles amongst other tasteless clickbait. And at least one episode published by this kid's channel showcases an impregnated Spider-Man getting an ultrasound and like being prepared for childbirth. Yeah, so this is just like totally something you would want your 5-year-old kid to sit down and binge hours of, right? Other channels at the time that were blurring the lines of kid and adult content with this Spider-Man and Elsa style material included Toy Monster, The Superhero's Life, and The Kids Club. While indeed very weird, pregnant Spider-Man wasn't.
There was plenty of ElsaGate garbage.
It's red, blue, green, white, brown, or whatever. And then the video of green gets 10,000 views and the rest get none. The computer program would say, more green. The next video is 5 shades of green. And what ended up actually happening was, it starts with Elsa, and then it would make a bunch of videos. It turned into thumbnails of children eating feces, drinking urine out of urinals, stabbing each other, procedurally generated videos of Peppa Pig being gutted and disemboweled. And babies were watching this because parents just handed the tablet off and didn't know. YouTube panicked when the story broke. Eventually, I think the Wall Street Journal picked it up. And then they said, that's why now on all YouTube videos, you have to select whether it's made for children or not. And if you say it is, it gets like heavily monitored, restricted, and demonetized and things like that.
Well, I just want to say to parents, even if it is, quote, safe for kids, like, please.
But it gets worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly the point, is that was labeled safe for kids. So was Genderqueer, The Bluest Eye, all these books that were banned from schools.
In response to the viral trending videos that people were seeing, there were videos. Joker had a giant syringe, and he would poke Elsa with it and then syringe her, because for some reason, syringe in the algorithm was being promoted. This resulted in real world videos where adult men would take their daughters and inject them with needles of saline and get tens of millions of views.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
You had real first, it starts with Elsa. Then it starts with people imitating Elsa. Then it starts with children are watching whatever will be generated. So these programs, one of the videos I like to show is Hitler, but he's got a female body with breasts doing Tai Chi as a family from India sings the Finger Family Nursery Rhyme. They were getting millions of views and making millions of dollars.
Why don't I just do that? Why don't I just do that?
YouTube starts banning these things, but the computer-generated programs resulted in humans seeing what was successful and replicating it in the real world. And this created this delusional set of content that was derivative of this hodgepodge. The after effect that I see now is we talk about how COVID and the school shutdowns made it so kids can't read. There are now going to be 9-year-olds today who spent months watching this diluted content of babies eating feces out of toilets.
Wiring around it.
And so what's going to happen to them when they're getting older? What proclivities will they have? What rights will they demand?
And let's not also forget that while Tim Pool and his audience may be very familiar with this thing, especially if you're a newer parent, he was just saying this was 7 years ago. So if you're a newer parent, you might be generally aware that stuff like that exists. But they're always, the people that are making these videos are always trying to get around the algorithm and the terms of service to try to get at your kids.
What's going to happen when someone comes into therapy and says, this is what I want. I want to stick syringes and drink urine from urinals, and they won't let me. How do we help people who are this wired improperly because of the machine?
I mean, I think we already have that. I mean, that's kind of what I was alluding to before, is that as much as psychology, the field has been co-opted, a lot of the science there does have at least a substantive value.
Well, I mean, I think that to Dr. Drew's earlier point, there's exposure therapy and, wanting to kind of rewire, re-stimulus, people. But I mean, I think it's also, we have to keep kids away from screens, to your point, and, to the point of the corruption of all of these medical bodies, that many of us have been wired and trained to trust. I think it was the American Pediatric Association a few years ago that revised its guidelines for 2-year-olds to say a certain number of hours of screen time a week was okay for kids up to that age. But then when pressed about it, they acknowledged that they understood there's really no good amount of screen time, but they just didn't.
That's wild. That's wild.
Think that it would be practical for parents to keep their kids away from screens.
That's a societal issue, that if we know there's no safe amount of screen time for a child under the age of whatever, but we know that parents are going to do this anyway. So if we put out this number of 1 hour, 3 hours, or whatever it is, then at least they'll limit it to that. That's tough. That's tough. Because, I mean, that's the same kind of lies that we had issue with all the COVID stuff. But at the same time, they're screwing up a whole generation.
Look at these
nuts.
images.
Oh yes, it's so
and
disturbing.
these are not even the worst examples.
Yeah,
it's terrifying because we're creating this simulated world, and then the simulated world is then controlling us back. Do you know what I mean? All of this AI generation stuff, it's not real, but then it's impacting us in real life. What is that going to?
Well, to your point though, Tim, when you have someone like that comes into therapy 10 years later, there is a lot to unpack, because you have to acknowledge the abuse that happened. You have to acknowledge their feelings about their parents, that maybe unwittingly even thought that they were doing something fine, allowing them to be around the computer screen. They're going to have bigger issues than even just what they like. They would also come to have issues with trust in people that they thought would be there to take care of them. Dr. Drew, I'm curious for your take.
I'm just having so many feelings. I'm flooded with different thoughts and ideas.
I just quickly searched for this and found one real simple example of what's currently happening. ElsaGate did not stop. This is a channel that I just Google searched. It's called Tooniverse. I've never seen it before. Here's superhero no good Samaritans, superhero ex-girlfriend, superhero no good Samaritans.
Let's see it. What do we got? Let's do the side quest, Tim.
Superheroes bitten by ants. Here's Spider-Man wearing a diaper. One thing we looked into these AI generated videos before. There's a channel where it's just it was 50 videos of Spider-Man with hot dogs all around.
Wait, how many?
These AI generated videos before?
Almost 300,000 subs.
It was 50 videos of Spider-Man with hot dogs all around him, and various instances where Spider-Man AI generated, and the titles were Frozen, Trump, Spider-Man, Marvel, hot dog. And then the title always had that in it, and then there would be something else. So if you actually look here, you can see 63 million views. Superheroes, no good Samaritans.
And how many do you think of those views were toddlers?
I'd imagine almost all of it.
Yeah.
So this is not even the most prominent channel. It's just one that I simply Google searched right now. And you can see they're getting tens of thousands of views as it is. And here's superheroes eat super hot dog. It's just AI generated slop targeting children. And they use the titles to manipulate the algorithm and get attention. Now, I've brought this up before. We as adults, this is the point that I made during ElsaGate. When we see Elsa injecting, or Spider-Man injecting a pregnant Elsa with something, when we see Spider-Man eating a giant hot dog, we go, okay, this is deranged.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when we see Donald Trump and a fake headline? We go, this is plausible. The problem is it's identical in every way to the manufactured content. So one great example is Brian Tyler Cohen.
Oh, that little fuck.
He has a channel where I'd argue 90% of his thumbnails are a random screenshot of Trump, and every title is almost the exact same emotional Trump content.
Let's see it. Let's see it. What is it? Brian Cohen Tyler. Right. Yeah, this guy. All right, let's see.
My name is Brian Tyler Cohen, and if you're looking for the
Why is
most
that
watched
still
political
playing?
videos when it comes to breaking news and countering disinformation,
Why is that
you're
still playing? Okay. So we've got Trump in this one. We've got I mean, that's fair. He's talking about that one there. Lawyer who defended Trump, talking about Trump. I mean, but yeah, lots of Trump focused stuff. And let's just pick a short one. What is he actually saying? Surprise, Elon drops bomb on
It looks
Trump.
like Trump's little freak out this morning over Jeffrey Epstein caught the eye of somebody who knows exactly how to twist the knife when it comes to Trump. Elon Musk took to Twitter and wrote, "How can people be expected to have faith in Trump if he won't release the Epstein files?" And of course, this is especially potent coming from Musk, what with this tweet being what brought the idea of deporting Elon into the zeitgeist. When he wrote, "Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT." In other words, you've got the same guy who said Trump was in the files now confronting the White House about the rationale for not releasing them. I wonder if the two are related. Of course, you don't need to just take Elon's word for it. Trump himself offered up the biggest tell in the world when it comes to his desire to see the files actually get released.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would. All right. I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
Granted, while
I don't, we're a quarter of a minute into the video and I don't fully know what he's trying to do. So I think what Tim is trying to say is that Brian Tyler, whatever the fuck his name is, Brian Tyler Cohen is the Elsa Gate for adults.
Trump's rationale for not releasing the files is pretty damn clear.
Mm.
It's also worth noting that Elon Musk,
and every title is almost the exact same emotional Trump content. Trump humiliated for this reason. Trump says disgusting thing. Trump looks angry, and none of it's actual news. But he gets hundreds of thousands of views. He gets 200. I think he gets 200 million views per month on this.
This one had
it's the challenge.
This one, he's got 4 million subscribers, but it's got almost 700,000 views, just talking about the same thing we all saw, probably not adding anything of value, but just, hey, look, this happened. And that's why, when something like that happens, there's a breaking story, that I'm not that guy that's going to just come on, oh, hey, this just happened, because that's, I could do that and I would probably have a much bigger channel, but what's the point? What's the point? To have a big channel for the sake of having a big channel?
Is, again, as adults, we can see this is crazy and kids shouldn't watch it. But as adults, when someone says, I'm just criticizing Trump, and you recognize it's formulaic in the same exact way, but targeting adults that have children.
Called it.
There's nothing we can do about it because they have a right to do it. So I see all of this as we are cooked. I do not see a legal, practical path towards ending it, because humans are addicted to it.
Yeah.
When you take, I had one person tell me, but if I take the tablet away from the baby, they'll freak out and start screaming. And I can't deal with that. And I'm like,
well, maybe that's precisely why you should take it away from them.
You're okay. Just do it.
Yeah, that's a sign you need to take it away.
But what happens when it's adults?
Yeah.
What if we said, guys, a person who's
stop watching the crap slop like Brian What's-His-Face and David Pakman.
Channel is one. Hassan Piker does not do this. I criticize the guy all the time. He doesn't. It's all legitimate commentary and various news stories. I can.
All right, fair enough. It's really, 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 really bad commentary, but fair enough.
Respect that. I disagree with him politically. But the other guy, it's slop content to target hypnotized, addicted boomers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing as this.
Oh, I would love to get a look at the analytics of the age, the age demographics of who watches that channel.
But we can't take it away. There's YouTube had no problem targeting this content and said we're going to eliminate it because no adult cared, and babies don't have political power.
But we have to speak up. Okay, so Tim, I hear you, and I hear you saying that we're cooked, and maybe you're right, but I'm a militant optimist, right?
Likewise.
And so.
Speak out about what?
So I want to say that if you are around, to use your word, those boomer relatives that are like stuck in a CNN spiral, I
argue with them. trust me, they'll definitely think that you have valid points.
I think the thing is that it's people who are more libertarian or independent. They don't tend to want to impose their views on other people. So they'll be around that, wine aunt that's stuck in CNN, and they just won't challenge her because they're like, well, don't tread on me, don't tread on her. But I think what we need
no step on snack
to do is learn how to, compassionately but assertively just start offering our own facts and challenging people and speaking up, bit by bit. We have to do something.
I hear you, but take a look at this. All Hot Dog Dances compilation Mickey Mouse Club at Disney Junior with 24.4 million subs and 163 million views. This is where this stuff kind of comes from. This is psychotic, deranged, degenerate garbage that parents believe is good for their kids because it's Disney. And as much as I agree, we will speak up, we will challenge this. We already have a generation, Gen Alpha, raised on this psycho slop that has fried their brains.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that Gen Z had some of it and millennials had a little bit. This is the worst it's ever been. And
it's only gonna get worse.
I can only, when you look at how millennials have developed with the internet and you get gender ideology, this affirmation, I believe it all comes from people's brains are wired in deranged ways because largely of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And as the internet becomes more prolific in our lives and development, we're going to see more and more and more and more of that. What happens? The example I love to use is I Am Legend. Are you guys familiar with I Am Legend? Yeah. The book, not the movie. The movie was garbage. It made no sense.
I mean, it was all right, but knowing what the book is, I understand the comparison. But I Am Legend with Will Smith was not a bad movie.
In the book,
didn't make much sense, but it wasn't a bad movie.
The graphic novel. There's vampires. He's a vampire hunter. He says humans have to stop the vampires. So he goes around killing the vampires. He finds them when they're in their coffin, stakes them in the heart. By the end of the book, he's the last human. And he's in a jail cell. And he looks out the window and he sees vampires all walking around. And they look up at him in the tower and they're terrified. And then he says, basically, that's the moment I realized it. I am the monster of legend. I lurk while they sleep. I hunt them while they're at their weakest.
It was at this moment he realized he fucked up.
They are the people and I am the monster. I am legend. Basically meaning how we view that vampire, they view him. What happens when the entirety of Gen Alpha are going to hot dog parties and there's a bar called Hot Dog Club and there's just hot dogs everywhere being launched in the air and they're flopping on the ground?
What, you mean like the millennial burger joint?
And we are desperately saying, this is insane. It must be stopped. And they look at you like some weird bigot demon trying to take away what is normal for them.
Well, this is very similar to what's going on TikTok right now. There is a huge explosion of people talking about the Gen Z stare. In fact, let's fuck it. Let's go through it because it's very interesting. So let's just go.
Tim doesn't seem to really know what hit him here.
You have no right to do.
So yeah, people were just talking about, the Gen Z stare, the Gen Z stare, the Gen Z stare. And then some of the Gen Z were like, what are you talking about? Like, just because you're annoying and you don't know how to talk to customers doesn't mean that that we're weird. Why are the captions on here? Where are we? That one. We're getting close. Where is it? Oh, here. So Gen Z thinks that when we're talking about the Gen Z stare, we're talking about boomers not being good customers. Like, I just got home from a shift. I'm 35. I just got home from a shift at a restaurant, and I gave that look to some people. That is not what we are talking about. When we talk about the Gen Z stare, it is when you are supposed to be talking to me. You are supposed to be leading the conversation, particularly at your job. When you're supposed to be leading the conversation, or if I have properly led the conversation to my point and brought it to where you're supposed to jump in and you just... That's the Gen Z stare. It's adorable. It's adorable that Gen Z thinks they're the first ones to deal with bad customers. Like, no, honey, sweetie, baby. Oh, no. That's just a whole other thing. This is your default. So like, yeah, if you're at work, I gave that situation. But let's say that you come to my restaurant and you are sitting at my table. Hey, folks, how we doing today? And can I get you guys something to drink? Order. That's the Gen Z stare. And why? See, that's exactly what I was talking about with the autoplay. Hey, shout out to United. Welcome to the party. So the Zoomers didn't like that. I honestly don't know. And so this comment said Gen Z intentionally trying to misunderstand the Gen Z stare because they can't handle any criticism. Are they intentionally misunderstanding, or do they genuinely think they're the first ones that have ever had to deal with bad customers? Like, that's always where it's brought up. And again, they think that's what we're talking about. I think they just think nobody has ever dealt with that before. That being said, if they are purposely trying to move the meaning of the Gen Z stare so that they don't have to get the criticism, that wouldn't surprise me either. But I do think they genuinely think they're like, oh, we just, want you to be like normal. It's like, yeah, that's what we're saying to you. There was a couple more, or one or two more. And I did. Okay, two more. Shout out to the first Zoomer of thousands of views and hundreds of comments about these Gen Z stare videos. That is actually like, you know what? That's not me personally. So this is the comment saying, I'm an older Gen Z, and I've noticed this with the younger ones, and it pisses me off, especially when it's paired with an AirPod in one ear. Why the AirPods all the time? But I definitely see what you're seeing, and I agree that it's weird. Bunch of Zoomers in my comments like, why are you doing this stuff? Someone just told me they thought that millennials were going to be the ones to stop making fun of younger generations. If you think there's some generational thing to not address things that annoy us in society, you are misinformed. I don't know one person who knows one person who ever ate a Tide Pod, but guess what? I can't get mad at Gen X for being like, oh, millennials eating Tide Pods back in 2016. Like, that's what it was. Now, it's the Gen Z stare. If you don't do it, then good for you. A lot of your peers do. All right, one more. There was one more. Yep, very clearly you don't. Okay, so this is a Zoomer saying we just don't understand what annoying people like yourself are complaining about. Yep, very clearly you don't understand what we're talking about when we say the Gen Z stare, because you all do it. It's just a normal thing for you and your generation. That's why you don't get it. The same reason boomers don't understand that they're freaking awful in every way, because they're all like that. That's you guys too. It's all right. Millennials had our cringe, and when Gen Alpha is your age, you'll be able to make fun of them for whatever it is. But hey, we got a lot with like Tide Pods and avocado toast. Take your turn. You'll grow up eventually. Just take your turn. To conclude. Nope. Oh, last one. And then some kid. Shout out to the first Zoomer of thousands of views and hundreds of comments about these Gen Z. Okay, we watched that one. So we're gonna do okay. So then someone is saying, wasn't this needlessly poking fun at the next generation supposed to end with y'all? Or question. I'm Gen Z and I'm old enough to remember when you all said you were so sick of Gen X and making fun of you and blah 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 blah. Okay, I was going to go to bed, but if you don't know how to read, I'll just tell you. No, you are woefully misinformed that millennials are going to just not talk about things that annoy us in society. That is probably exactly what we are best known for. Don't worry, when the Skibbity Sigma 6-7 can start actually affecting your life, you will do exactly the same thing. And you will understand, I realize that I never really did a Gen Z stare, but I guess I can see that a lot of people are doing it. Don't worry, young Padawan. One day you will grow up and learn all there is to know about the world. But for now, stare into nothing. Shout out to the... Was that the last one? Okay, I was going to go to bed. All right, for real. All right, so, but yeah, point being, they, they just don't understand that, it's a common thing. And the stoner stare, very, very similar. Just like, I mean, I think I said it in that video, but yeah, it's like when you're expected to talk in a social situation and then you just don't. and people are using the work situations because it's a good example, but it's not just that. Anyway,
and they look at you like some weird bigot demon trying to take away what is normal for them.
Well, I think it comes down to what's going to be actually conducive to a healthy, meaningful life. And we're moving toward an era, I think, that what separates us is going to be who has strong mental fortitude and who doesn't. And I think that probably you're right that a certain portion of the population is cooked. But how do the rest of us combat this? I mean, maybe this is simple, but
Mrs. from Bryson said, I think Gen Z and millennials are generalized and aren't that bad. I'm Gen X. Where did Gen Z come from? From your generation fucking. I can't absolve Gen X from having been responsible. Exactly. But that's the way of the world. Exactly as I was saying with the Tide Pods and stuff. Y'all were making fun of us. I'm allergic to avocado, so I never went to get avocado toast. And I don't know anybody who knows anybody who ate a Tide Pod. But people did eat Tide Pods. And the other thing I was saying to somebody in the comments was I think it was the same person that I replied to. It's like, oh, the first Zoomer to actually understand. In the comment thread of the video before I replied to the comment, I was saying, like, yeah, like we kind of know that it's probably or not. We kind of know. Take two. It's probably more the younger Gen Z and even the older Gen Alpha, and probably not even most of Gen Z, but I think that was the same thing with Tide Pods. I think it was the older Zoomers that were doing that, and not millennials. But it is what it is. I'm sure the boomers were like, "Oh, you and your rock music and your whatever. I don't know, whatever it was." We all get our turn.
How do the rest of us combat this? I mean, maybe this is simple, but I think having children and staying off screens as much as you can. But I know, but it's hard for me too.
Let's I want to play this. Again, this is Disney. This is not a random channel.
Now we got ears. It's time for sheer.
Yeah, wow. So this the official Disney Junior channel for 24 million subs, all hot dog dances compilation. Mickey Mouse Club. Mickey Mouse Club.
Hot dog, no problem solved. Hot dog, diggity dog.
And I'm sure they just thought, hot dogs? That's the most creative thing. There's layers, there's nuance, we could tell moral stories. Or maybe it's just about money.
Much fun finding the out of this world treasure. And I made a new
We're splitting the scene.
Why should a child watch any of this?
So long for now from Mickey Mouse.
Well, Tim, then we'd have to get into the issue, all kinds of other issues, like why is a child watching this, right? So traditionally, a mom would be with her children and she'd have the emotional and mental bandwidth. And I say this as a mom.
But now she's a single mom because she kicked her husband out because he wasn't tall enough or didn't make enough money or made enough money but didn't spend enough time with her or this, that, or the other. And she's got to do it all herself. And she's a strong, independent woman. Don't need no man.
Myself, I was telling on the way over, I used to joke that my business was my baby. And then I had a real baby. And I'm currently in the process of closing the clinical wing of my business because I felt like all that, mental energy and bandwidth of trying to shape and form other people, I wanted to be going into my child. And so I think we'd have to look at the question of, of whether it be men or whether it be women. But the idea that babies are getting dropped off at daycare at 6 weeks old, kids are
6 weeks. 6 weeks? That is wild.
Why are they watching this? Essentially, it's because mom and dad are unable or unwilling.
So you're saying
agreement about that?
You're saying repeal the 19th?
That's a whole other question. That's a whole.
I said, so you're saying repeal the 19th?
Oh,
that's a whole other question.
But as the time traveler, let me give
some wisdom.
The perspective of history. Similar but not so desperate arguments were held about television in the 60s. And having been raised as a kid that was plopped in front of the television to watch Captain Kangaroo and all the things that created Pee Wee Herman, which was a version of all that. They're the same. I remember, in fact, the argument was we're reinforcing primary narcissism. Kids are going to think
it's true.
They're right.
Yeah. I was going to say, do we think that at least 24-hour TV programming? Before that, TV just stopped at like 10 o'clock or something, right? And I wonder if that, we say, oh, well, we thought that about TV, it wasn't that bad, but isn't it not bad?
But hang on a second. Primary narcissism is a fantasy world where chairs talk and that kind of stuff. And we're pretty good with reality, my generation. But we're screwed up, mostly because we're stuck in front of the TV and not parented.
Right.
I don't know. Your generation is good with reality. I mean, your generation is good at dealing with the reality right in front of them. But as hundreds and actually thousands of Gen Xers were saying on that video that I did that blew up, got like 100,000 views. That Gen Xers seem to just want to take care of themselves and their own family and not worry about the rest of the world. Which I mean, hey, I'm not a Gen Xer, so I didn't live that. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like I said, TV used to shut off for me, and I think TV was that bad. That is where we are. And so that's the question. Is it because, like, even if you want to rewind the clock before the iPad kid generation, where Zoomers were little babies, were we in a world where TV created that level of narcissism? And or maybe you want to roll it back to before social media. And I don't know. It's an interesting question. Interesting question. Brandon said, I made mistakes. As far as letting my children watch Disney, I find cartoons aren't as bad as the preteen sitcom shows. Oh, and fuck Kalu. I've only read that. I don't know how you say it, but couldn't stand that whiny bitch. Yeah, I've heard some bad things about Kalu and what's the other one? Coco Melon. Keep your kids away from that shit. Keep your kids away from that shit.
Generation. But we're screwed up, mostly because we're stuck in front of the TV and not parented.
Right.
That's really what happened.
But I think they were right. It is true that boomers are largely okay. Gen X, are they though? Is moderately okay. Millennials are
they though?
50-50. Gen Z is in a weird.
Millennials definitely 50-50. I agree there.
Bifurcate. X is moderately okay. Millennials are 50-50. Gen Z is in a weird bifurcated space, and I fear for Gen Alpha. But
I mean, again, I'm not trying to hate on Gen X, but all the Karen type mentalities that we see out there and all the okay boomer moments, those are Gen Xers. We rarely see an actual baby boomer being, the subject of an okay boomer situation. Just saying.
If you go back to the Captain Kangaroo and stuff on TV, let me ask you, what year were you born?
58.
58. So when you were a kid, how much screen time did you get on average per day?
And it was black and white TV.
Black and white.
That's engaging.
At least 4 hours. At least
4 hours per day.
And I was in the low end at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I didn't have that much.
We were parked because by then people acknowledged you
Right.
shouldn't be putting your kids in front of the TV like that.
Right. And so that's why we're in the situation where, like I was saying, and I was working in restaurants when the iPad kid thing started, it was less common, but because it was less common, we didn't see the effects and hadn't been around as long. So it didn't seem like as much of a problem. And so because it wasn't as much of a problem, so we thought, then we kept doing it and it kept exploding. And now we realize, oh, it always was a problem. We just didn't realize it at the time.
But it was considered a good thing in the early 60s.
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Shout out to Mr. Rogers. That's what I'm saying, Bryson. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to throw shade, but like, I don't know. Shout out to Kian Aris. Am I saying that right? Welcome to the party. So millennials are straight up pussies in most cases. Can't even drink a 40 ounce. Hey, I'm 35. I'm a dead set in millennial, and I'm short. I'm tiny. And we used to play Edward 40 Hands in college all the time. You are thinking of the Zoomers that don't even go out and they don't party. Like, we've all been in the crazy basement parties where it's like grimy and dirty and there's like 700 kids packed together. That was partying. And then, of course, going out to the clubs and doing that stuff, the raves and all that stuff. But now kids don't even, they don't even meet up to drink. Like, something that we would call barely more than a pregame is a party to them. But I feel you. Welcome to the party. Kian, let me know if I'm saying that incorrectly.
But it was considered a good thing in the early 60s.
So go ahead.
At that time, also, there's been studies that have shown that not only was it black and white and fewer commercials, but the shows themselves were structured around moral themes.
That's true.
That is true.
And and the history leaked in. I remember seeing the Kennedy funeral and things like that. And there's stuff that and then people started.
And now CNN won't even show. I mean, maybe now, but there was a time when CNN wouldn't even show the president speaking.
I remember I was watching the Watts riots, and I went to my cousin's house, whose parents were vehemently in favor of those riots, and they wouldn't let their kids watch it. I thought, why not? Why I was 6.
It's not all bad. My vocabulary was embiggened by The Simpsons, which I think my speech shows that TV can be perfectly crime.
But now,
Kian Harris, welcome.
It's not just TV and you don't click it. And it's also not in the family living room where your mom was sort of cooking dinner and overhearing it. Now it's just right here all the time, 24/7. People
It's
aren't
more
even
desperate.
turning.
There's no doubt about
They're
it.
not even turning.
Yeah, back in the day when you wanted to do some shady shit on the computer that was in the family room or like in the kitchen, you had to make sure you had other windows ready to go and all of that. Make sure mom's upstairs and now it's right at your fingertips.
Turning Wi-Fi off at night.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm not defending anything. I'm just trying to be a little bit optimistic. For instance, you mentioned the koi food, was it? Or koi pond food. That was the beginning of the end for mainstream media because people started to realize, oh, I'm being manipulated. And it's
really, that was the beginning of the end. Do we agree or disagree? Let's make that a poll. Was the Trump koi pond clip the beginning of the end for mainstream media? I don't know. Maybe you guys can pinpoint it a little better, or maybe he's spot on. Context said it's on me that anyone born between 82 and 92 shouldn't be considered millennials. They deserve their own generation. Hey, we did, and there is actually. I read a book in college called Generation Y. And here, let's take a little tiny side quest with that because it's I don't remember it exactly, but it is Generation. Oh no, it was Generation Me. Generation Me. Yes, right? Yes. Give me the overview. So we got Generation Me, and it had a different title at the time, but them low-rise jeans, baby, you know about them low-rise jeans. And so in this provocative and newly revised book, headlining Dr. Jean Twenge explores why she calls it Generation Me are tolerant, confident, open-minded, and ambitious, but also disengaged, narcissistic, distrustful, and anxious. Born in the 80s and 90s, called the entitlement generation, or millennials, are reshaping schools, colleges, and businesses all over the country. Children of baby boomers are not only feeling the effects of the recession and the changing job market, they're affecting change all over the world. Now, in this edition of Generation Me, Dr. Twenge incorporates the latest research and and show how Gen Meers have shifted the American character, redefining what it means to be an individual in today's society. And I mean, it goes on from there. But yeah, it basically is showing that how there is a difference. And I talk about this kind of in a different context where there is micro generations, where like with the baby boomers and Gen X, you could group them together because life was essentially, not exactly, but essentially the same in 1945 than it was in 1965. Obviously, the world was different, but the way things happened, that was organic, and everybody was moving along with it. Starting with the late Gen X's, late Gen Xers. And so that's why we have terms like zillennial, where like you're kind of on the cusp, because even though within it used to be a 20-year period, because things are changing so quickly in that period, then it is hard to say. Shout out to equality and deference because vagina. Welcome to the party. Said, liked, and shared. Thank you so very, very much. You guys know how much that stuff helps the channel. Of course, it is free, it is easy, and it doesn't even matter if you think anybody is going to click on the link that you share. It's just a matter of telling YouTube or Rumble or whoever else, I want more people to see this, and they will show it to more people. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Fox said, we came up through the forming of the internet as we know it as kids. Yep, and yeah, 82 to 92, that's a pretty good range for that, I think. Welcome to the party equality. Again, guys, if you've not hit that like button, please do so. And of course, we every donation comes with a treat for Morty, and it is a peanut butter night. Let's get Morty his peanut butter.
For mainstream media. Because people started to realize, oh, I'm being manipulated, and it's over once people feel that. And I believe the same thing will happen with all of this. And there, I am hearing, I don't know if this is statistically borne out yet, but the generations that's coming up now is coming in understanding screens are damaging.
But
they're trying to limit their
point,
exposure.
You realize that you're being manipulated because you had a normal experience to compare it to. I share Tim's fear that if you have a literal baby that grows up on that,
listen, I'm not afraid.
Like being manipulated, that's just like their normal experience.
But do we become hyper moralistic? I mean, to some, or to become centralized and authoritarian?
Yes.
I mean, those are the two impulses that kind of come up in all this. But I believe this is Simon and Gomorrah, and we need to sort of bring in morality again. I think we have to be explicit about that.
Right. Exactly. We need to bring in morality again, and we have to be explicit about that. If the only way we can do that is talking about God and Jesus and the Bible, then it's not going to work. It doesn't work with Gen Xers and millennials. You think the younger generations, which are less and less and less and less and less and less religious, are going to buy into that shit? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Agree. And the conversation we've been having quite a bit in the past couple of weeks is, again, the right is so scared of being called fascist that they're literally telling people, by all means, sterilize children. My argument is Trump should use all federal authorities to the highest degree imaginable to stop the sterilization and sex change of children.
I tend to agree, but Doomer Tim, I would like to know exactly what you mean by that.
Send in the DOJ, do whatever you got to do, start prosecuting these people. Instead, there's this fear. A great example is,
I could imagine, be like, yeah, just hang them all.
Have y'all seen the video that went viral from EXCORIATES?
No.
The dilator one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me pull this one up.
You guys have all seen this, right? He's going to play it anyway, but if you have not seen this,
but also uncool. You're not exposed to all these things.
So let me see
if you have not seen it, like, this is such the epitome of the darkness and sadness that comes with the whole trans thing.
I can find it. I know that if I actually try and search for media, what I'll get is a bunch of gay porn on X. I don't want that. So
come on, Elon.
I assume this may be the video.
You mean, come on, Elon? Come on, Tim. We just showed that my search ain't got nothing like that.
Oh, and we will play it.
But with her, I'm worried about like her mental well-being.
You should be. You turned him into a she.
And her dilation. The minute she leaves my house, we have a dilation problem.
That is a concern. When you don't have that watchful eye, they tend to go back to old patterns.
Yeah, it's almost like if you don't force them to change their gender, they're just going to turn out to be normal people. Crazy.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator and put the lubrication on it and said, here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will.
Sounds like rape. Context said, I worry that kids today are forcibly becoming simple-minded. That doesn't bode well for the whole anti-dogma thing, judging from history, unfortunately. And I agree with you. I agree with you completely. And the fact is that if they're not going to choose a Christian dogma, there's way worse dogmas out there to choose. And because Christianity is the one, that's going to be as it is now, that's going to be the one that people reject the hardest. So I've been warning you guys for years. That if you want to make Christianity cool again, then you have to stop being so pearl clunchy and Bible thumpy about it. And you have to understand that people like me are your greatest advocates. Your greatest advocates. In fact, okay, well, this is a video that's going to drop tomorrow, but I will, what did I do with it? Is it up here? I'll just go back to my TikTok. I was talking about Yellow Jackets, the show Yellow Jackets, and you don't need to know too much about it. But I made an argument. Where about religiosity. So again, if you're not familiar, Yellow Jackets is a show about, without spoiling anything huge, it's a show about this team, this high school soccer team that they're going to nationals, and they get a private jet to fly there, and the plane crashes in the wilderness, and they got to survive, and then they end up eating each other. So that's like the pitch of the show. That's not spoiling anything. And this girl here, Laura Lee, was this is kind of a spoiler, but don't worry, you'll still be able to enjoy the show. She was the first to die, but she was a very religious person, and she was very much talking about how she was very open about it, and she was using that as a I don't even want to say coping mechanism, but as a guide to help her through being lost in the wilderness with nobody. And then, so I've got what I think is a very interesting question, especially given the fact that I am who I am. So if you're new here on YT, I talk about politics and how I am a non-believer in Christianity, even though I think Christianity does some pretty great stuff. That's us! Atheist haters, unfortunately, I'm going to be on your side for this one. So my question is, in Yellow Jackets, of course, the first death that we have, spoilers obviously, the first death that we have after the crash, like of the people in the wilderness, is when Laura Lee, the very Christian girl, decides to try to take the dead guy's plane. She's been studying the manual for weeks, and she goes and she actually takes off, and she's doing fine until it's set on fire. And then, so again, there's a situation, they find a plane, and the manual is there, and they cut off, it's old as fuck, but she's like, I've been studying the manual for weeks, and so I'm going to try to fly south. And she's doing fine until it's set on fire, and then it explodes. I wonder if this show could have even happened if she wasn't the first death. Lottie was able to take the spiritual leader role because there was no one there with a spiritual ideology. If you've seen any of the promotion for it, then you see them like dressed up in like Antler Queen stuff and cult stuff. And that kind of happens. It's a very Lord of the Flies type story. And without the Christian girl there, someone else who has a strong spiritual connection to the wilderness becomes the leader. A spiritual ideology. It was just intuiting things, and I feel like this, that, whatever. And she, people believed in it because they had nothing else to believe in. So I would definitely be more like Ty and or Shauna and be like, yo, what's good? They're not doing anything. They're crazy. They're this or that. I'm not a believer. But if Laura Lee was there, Laura Lee is the Christian one. Do you honestly think they ever would have gotten to eating each other? And maybe you say yes, but would it have been that soon? Would there not have been some aspect of, guys, we can't do this. There's that in the Bible and Jesus and sanctity of human life and all of that stuff. All that stuff exists within Christianity. And even though I don't believe in the truth claims, it is a very clear signal that, a lot of people compare the shows to Lord of the Flies, that without some type of ideology, if you care about my YT stuff, I'm trying to think of a secular ideology that works, but that's another story. Without some type of moral structure, is going down. And so I'll pose the question to you guys. How do you think it would have played out differently if Laura Lee let's say Laura Lee made it back from the wilderness? How would that, obviously we don't know everything that happened in the wilderness, but based on what we already do know, what do you think would have been the same? What do you think would have been different? How would the timeline change? I've been thinking about this all day, and I think Laura Lee obviously it saved their lives to be able to have food. Even when it came to the white moose, the frozen moose, they couldn't get it. So who knows what would have happened? But I don't know. What do you think? And so obviously, in order to answer the full context of what I'm asking, you have to know about the show. But basically what I told you, that everything goes downhill as soon as the Christian girl dies. Just something to think about. And yep, exactly what Comtech is saying. Dumbing down America. The poll is about that clip with Trump dumping the food into the koi pond in Japan that they clipped up to make it seem like he was being rude. Dr. Drew said that was the beginning of the end of mainstream media because people saw through that. I don't know, but we're at 50-50, so you guys vote. Let me know. Let's dive back into a mother raping her son and calling it gender-affirming care.
We have a dilation problem.
That is a concern. When you don't have that watchful eye, they tend to go back to old patterns.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator and put the lubrication on it and said, here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will.
But Jazz is bad, even when I'm home once a day.
I will be so mad if she goes away to college.
Oh, sorry, quality. Said this is the solution, showing real people the real consequences of transtardation. Absolutely. Who's this skinny guy? Jesus commands cannibalism. I like capitalism. I don't like cannibalism. Unless it's in Yellow Jackets. If you are not watching, if you haven't watched Yellow Jackets, what are you doing? There's 3 seasons. 2 of the seasons are on Netflix. Third season ended a while ago, so that you got some time before season 4 is coming out. There might be a bonus episode coming. It is absolutely worth catching up. And depending on how season 3 of Severance goes, I might put Yellow Jackets above Severance. It's that good.
This is bad. Even when I'm home once a day. I would be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up. I will wring her neck.
I will wring her neck for letting her body do what it's supposed to do.
Imagine.
So let me just say it. To those of us that are watching this show who are of sound mind, this is a woman who has taken her prepubescent son, surgically removed his genitals to create a cavity that she is demanding by threat of force and violence he shove inside his wound to expand. Now, of anyone of sound mind, you're going to say, what are humans doing? My argument, and this was in Florida, and at the time, this is
well, if your wound heals, then I'm not special anymore, Jazz.
2021, this video is going viral. I said, why isn't Ron DeSantis at least sending in state troopers to question this family? And the DeSantis people lost their minds. No, you can't do that. How dare, it's not his fault, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, if there was a video of a man and he said, I wake my wife up in the middle of the night and I grab the device and I say, stick it in or I will wring your neck.
Or even a father to a daughter.
Yep, they'd be arrested.
Well, it's funny you say that because when I was watching that, you might find this interesting. When it comes to the need for power or the need for dominance, which, it's just a personality scale.
Or, just kind of a default if you're on the left.
Women tend to express the need for power through excessive nurturance. So it's like,
that's where we get the Munchausen or now Transhausen by proxy. That's why you don't see a lot of dads transing their kids for their own virtue signaling. That's a female thing.
Express the need for power through excessive nurturance. So it's like, have another bite of soup, dear. No, and that.
No, I mean, wow, that just fucking unlocked a memory. Unlocked a memory. I mean, you guys see me. I'm a fucking tiny dude. That's why I asked you guys to pay me so we can do fucking push-ups. Not today. We're peanut butter today, but still, pay me for peanut butter. But that just unlocked a memory of, not one memory, but a series of memories where I'd be at the dinner table and I just wasn't hungry anymore. And my mom would force me to sit there and until I finished eating whatever was on my plate. And it's like, there's multiple, not a lot, but more than once, I, shoved it down my throat and then I ended up throwing up because it was like, yo, this is too much food. I'm fucking tiny. This is not good. But I'm caring for you. Are you though? At least men have a tendency to want to fix problems, not create unnecessary ones. Yup.
Case as well, she's like, oh, I'm such a good mom. I wake him up in the middle of the night and I
her.
Yeah, and right. And
boy.
so and the psychology field has been completely overtaken by women. To Naomi's point, my class was the same way.
Well,
I mean, my class was the same way. I graduated in 2012, and I think there was like 4 or 5 other dudes in the 400 or 500 people that were in the psychology program. I mean, I may be being a little bit hyperbolic, but it was overwhelmingly at least 95% women, and they were all so weird.
I went on Ali Stuckey and she calls it misplaced mothering.
We're nurturing
that's a little bold,
people
but
I just want, again, because I know the people who watch this are of sound mind. I think it's important to recognize there's a large portion of the population of not just the United States, but the world that live in that reality of that woman. But I just want to say this. Imagine it's 1993 and a cop walked into a home and saw a mother holding down her son and demanding he insert a device lubricated into his body against his will.
Oh, you mean like she just told us about?
Threatening to wring his neck. That would have been a major headline. That would have been like a shock to the community.
Yeah.
Now it's TV entertainment and accepted by a large portion of this country as normal.
And a large portion of the right, to your point, can't even come. Like, if we can't come out against this and say that this is wrong, what can we say is wrong?
To be fair, the right all said it was wrong, but they are
won't do
scared
anything.
to enforce against it.
Right.
Look, This is why.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, talk about the woke right. Yeah, you can virtue signal that you're against transing the kids, but then when you have an actual case where you can help a child, you do nothing. That's wokeness.
I'll never be in politics, but if I was in the DOJ, this lady be behind bars. And then they'd be like, but she's a celebrity on. I'd be like, oh, that's great. I don't care.
Why will you never be in politics?
He's
too much of a doomer.
I'd slam an iron fist in the table, I guess. I don't know.
Why is that bad?
He just wouldn't win. Like, he wouldn't win because he wouldn't play to people, for better or worse.
It's probably not, but I don't know. I just,
well, yeah,
no one's going to let me in the room when I'm like, I'm going to lock you up in 2 seconds.
Well, what you're doing is so important and so valuable. I'm not saying I would want you to change that. I was just
trying to get that dick.
Curious. That's all.
I guess what I really mean to say is nobody would want to let me go anywhere near power because
you'd use it.
Yeah. And
Chloe's doing her mind control thing, and it's called therapeutic wonderment. I'm wondering. Whenever a therapist says, "I'm wondering," watch out.
No, I'm serious.
Mind control.
if I was the Attorney General in Florida, the first thing I would do is I would come on a press conference and say, there are a lot of crimes happening in our state that we seek to stop. There are a lot of bad people. There's illegal immigration. There's murder. There's drug dealing. We are going to work on all of those things and make sure that there's a base level of actual enforcement to protect the community. That being said, here is a video of a woman who lives in our state who has threatened to forcefully medically rape her son. She will be arrested immediately.
Got my vote.
Yeah, right. That would be, at the very least, an attempt at justice.
I think that it's going to, I think the tide is shifting on this and it's going to change because there are so many young people now who went through the hysteria in, what was it, like 2016 to 2018 to 2020, who are now coming of age, finding their voice and making an impact. And
what did I tell you? Since we watched What is a Woman Together, since we watched that, I would, as soon as that dude said 7 to 10 years, that is the window. That is the window of when these kids who are sucked into this social contagion start to actually see what's going on, and you're going to see an explosion of suicides and detransitioners, and it's happening. You know what I always say about people who can predict the future? It's not because we have a crystal ball. It's because we know what the fuck is good, and we're connecting dots that other people are not.
Fortunately, is going to need to be led by these young people because the older people in power, they act like cowards. They can't protect children.
We had a guy on the show. Colin, do you remember who that liberal guy was? What did he say? He was the guy who said that children should be taught about how to insert things in their rectums.
Was that Lance from the Surfs?
What?
Soy pill. Yeah, soy pill. Yeah, it takes
what?
Yeah.
So I made the arguments that sex.
So who is soy pill? Wait a minute.
Sex education. When I
soy pill. Do you guys know who that is? Actually, yeah. Let's do. Give me a clip. 17 to, all right, well, I'll jump in here.
I'm going to say it again. Y'all are a cult.
What was cultish about what I just said?
Like, you can't. So I'm a reformer, not a revolutionary. Okay. And I say this all the time because the left is a cult. Okay. That means Trump does bad things. And I go, yeah, well, like, I'm going to win here, 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 and here. And I'm a reformer. And I want those reforms more than I care about other things.
Okay.
That tends to be the average voter, largely on economics and immigration. The left is like, but how could you possibly vote for Trump if one thing is bad?
Well, it's not one thing. I'm asking which liberal policy has Trump implemented that is aligned with your
anti-intervention.
Okay, so
the neocons my whole life were pro-intervention and pro-war.
Yeah, Iraq war.
And I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, but he didn't start any wars, and he set timeline for withdrawal from
escalated the drone strikes from Obama and changed the
during a withdrawal. Indeed, right.
The withdrawal.
The reason why Donald Trump
did you just ask the withdrawal? Yeah, Afghanistan
escalated drone strikes was because we were pulling troops out of the Middle East.
Sure, but he killed more people in that area with drones and changed the reporting and changed the report. Well, okay, are you anti-interventionist because you are afraid of like the death and the destruction, or are you just like, oh, we shouldn't be located here?
Both.
Like, I can be in America and I can send missiles into another country.
Donald Trump's policies.
What? All right. So I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get it. So that is who they are talking about.
In his first bill. Yeah, it takes
what?
Yeah.
So I made the arguments that sex education when I grew up was here's the reproductive function of a male and reproductive function of a female, and this is how babies are made.
What do you mean by this? It says in 10 years, we'll see what is a woman in the same way we see religious now. I see them both as spot on in terms of pointing out the ridiculous aspects of the ideologies that are attacking. what's going to change about what is a woman?
What the left is arguing now is that sex ed is about gratification. So the argument he made was you're homophobic because you're stopping young gay kids from learning how to pleasure each other. And I pointed out inserting foreign objects into your rectum can kill you. And he said, then you're arguing that gay people shouldn't be allowed to have sex.
Well, also, though, the normal traditional sex ed didn't teach us how to pleasure each other either. Like you said, it was just about how
We just had to figure that shit out. And you know what? We did. Yeah. Equality's with me, Guamtech. What the fuck are you talking about? So how do we see religious now?
you know,
Well, that's, I mean, in my program as a now they want therapists to be sex educators, but not in, oh, you know, like there's this STD and you might want to use this type of birth control. It's like, okay, so if you get this brand of vibrator and you spread your legs like this and then reach around like that, that is the curriculum at my therapy.
And then they want to put the
yuck that, like, you know, girls we use. I mean, like, but teaching kids that
books in you know, kindergarten, first grade.
That was Soy Pill's argument that sex ed, he said, gay people have sex anally and children should be taught sex ed. Therefore, teachers should be teaching minors how to use.
There is no way. I didn't.
I mean, as a classic, I already see. I saw that as What Is a Woman as an instant classic. So if y'all behind the times, that's one more thing that I predicted. That's one more thing that I predicted. Well, I said, looks like a Blondie McGreen shirt has nice titties. Yep.
Teachers should be teaching minors how to use.
There is no way. I didn't intend any of this. I'm so sorry. I'm coming back from the past as a time traveler.
Please.
But there is no
you're running
way.
that joke. Remember when we used to say, "Oh, dude, you're killing it. You killed the joke. You murdered it." Yeah, Dr. Drew, we get it. You're old. Speaking of which, old. One of the comments on that one of the Gen Z stare videos would be like, "Oh, just because you're old, and you." I'm like, bro, I'm 35. You're not gonna offend me by saying I'm old when you're 12.
Prepubescent children, even early puberty children, should be exposed to explicit sexuality because it makes no sense. It shatters the upper limit to the brain's regulatory capacity. It's why porn, when they're exposed to porn at young age, has dramatic impact. Sex addiction is out of control now because of early exposure to pornography.
The internet.
Yes, the kids, it doesn't make sense to talk about pleasure from sexuality when the whole topic doesn't make sense. It's absurd. And if it's at 18, if somebody wants to talk about the function of orgasm or something, okay, but let's do it.
But not at 7.
Age appropriate for kids that are interested, and that's that.
What your friend was.
And so I want to bring us back to the original point here, that it's not that psychology is like liberally biased. It's not that psychology is something that is inherently feminine. It's the fact that leftist women, feminist women have taken over the entire thing and are applying it in that way. And we got to take that back, because understanding the human brain is a very, 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 very important thing.
Doing there, I mean, I don't know if you said it was a friend or
no, it was a guy on the show we were debating.
A guy on the show, but like. It sounds, as a psychologist, what we would almost call acting out, like where he has this idea in his mind that he wants heterosex to be the same as homosexual. And
cognitive dissonance. It's not the same, but it behooves me for it to be the same. So I'm angry that they're not the same. Well, I said, if we ever have parents looking after their kids again, we should have the talk with the kiddos. Yeah, I mean, I think that this, you know, I remember in 2016 when I was, you know, I was still never Trumper, heavily into my atheism. And I went to what was called Reason Rally in Washington, D.C., where it's a secular conference. And they usually I think every 4 years they do it or something like that. And they always have a topic that they want to push. And then, you know, you go there and whatever your state, whatever state you're from, then you go and talk to your representatives about this issue. And so in 2016, the issue was sex ed. And so at the time, you know, we had there was a statistic that the states that don't teach or that teach abstinence only have much higher rates of STDs and teen pregnancies. And so based on that information, I thought, hey, and thinking of the sex ed that I had, where bare bones, age appropriate stuff, then it made sense to advocate for that. But now, 10 years later, it does seem like parents are much more qualified to be able to do that themselves, and the schools are much less qualified to do that than they were at the time. The awfuls? Who are the awfuls? The angry white feminist liberals, leftists? There we go. Got him.
That he wants heterosex to be the same as homosexual, and they're just not, right? I mean, I'm not even making a value judgment, but
I mean, in terms of the
well, in terms of their
different, but not even same.
Essential quality to the survival of society and to our species, they're just not the same. And so it sounds like he had almost kind of a rigid insistence upon saying, well, if
you mean like a dogma,
if we talk about one, therefore we have to talk about the other, and in one you put something in a hole, and so in the other you do, and so therefore we have to talk about it as if it's exactly the same, right? And to me, that's not even actually like a true holistic acceptance of what even homosexuality is. I almost think it's like degrading, you could say, to homosexuality to try to say, that it's the same.
As always, the leftists or just the liberals in general, they try to pander to a group, and in the process, they offend that group with the bigotry of low expectations.
Get into arguments about the same. I get nervous. Women and men, the same. That everything's the same.
We're different.
It's like, there's differences, but they should be given the same value and the same empathic attunement and everything else. Fine, no problem.
I wonder if you guys agree. I feel like humans, for evolutionary psychological reasons, will be attracted to receiving a resource or a thing or something that is perceivably beneficial.
Of course.
Makes sense, right? And does that create the political realities of human history, in that any world leader, any tribal leader or governmental leader, politician who promises to give you stuff is going to have an advantage over someone who tells you no? Because I wonder, real quick final point.
To the people who are less smart, absolutely.
The reason why I think we're seeing a lot of this with pleasuring is that I wonder if people who are hearing this actually care. Obviously, the people who watch the show and choose to do. I'm saying, if YouTube were to recommend this video to a random person, are they going to hear this and think to themselves, yeah, he's not wrong, but they're going to take away from me what I want, so I'd better just back off and let it happen? They can choose to do. I'm saying, if YouTube were to recommend this video to a random person.
Okay, so a random person who is not into politics sees this video.
Are they going to hear this and think to themselves, yeah, he's not wrong, but they're going to take away.
He's not wrong. So agreeing that the trans and the kids stuff is bad, but
away from me what I want, so I'd better.
They're going to take away from me what I want. What is it that the average person wants? That is, excuse me. What is it that the average person wants that they feel will be taken away with not being able to trans kids? And I mean, it is selfishness, but I mean, we can't pretend that that's not how politics works, that people vote for their personal interests over the societal ones a lot of times.
Are they going to hear this and think to themselves, yeah, he's not wrong, but they're going to take away from me what I want, so I'd better just back off and let it happen?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's referring to.
I absolutely agree that we have that tendency, but that is the lesser angels of our nature. The reality is people need to be led, and leading needs to be done with a moral compass and things that are very
But that doesn't need to be Christianity. Totally agree with every other aspect of it.
Uncomfortable. People need to be led through it. We won't necessarily do it on our own. We need to be inspired to do things like leaning into exposure therapies and things. That's why you need a therapist there to help you through it. You have to have somebody bring you into things that are uncomfortable. Diet and exercise. That's what we need to do.
Well, I'm not here to bring you into exercise, but I am here to bring you into ideas that you might find uncomfortable. Quality said, Operation Butt Sex can be problematic. The vagina was made to be pounded. Really using that Rumble chat.
Right. You have to have somebody bring you into things that are uncomfortable. Diet and exercise. That's what we need to do. It's uncomfortable. You don't want to do it? Let's go do it.
But when
we've lost track of that.
Let's do it.
When we add morality to sex, though, then people just lose their minds. And to Tim's point or Tim's question,
how dare you say that I should be moral when it comes to engaging in sexuality? Now, these are the same people we're going to talk about. If you're drunk, then consent doesn't count. But again, no principles, just positions.
I think it is because people don't want their porn to be taken away.
Well, look how they riled about even.
What? I feel like I'm missing something because they all seem to be on the same page. It's like, yeah, normal people are going to want a trans kid so that they can watch porn. What? Am I missing a step here? We went from.
Then people just.
Let's go do it.
But when
we've lost track.
Yeah, we went to.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's not wrong, but they're going to take away from me what I want, so I'd better just back off and let it happen.
And so he meant porn there? He's got points about trans and kids, but they're going to take porn away from me, so I should leave it alone. What? I don't think so.
But we won't necessarily do it on our own. We need to be inspired to do.
So then Dr. Drew's talking about being inspired and led and adding morality.
It is because people don't want their porn to be taken away.
Yep.
Well, look how they riled about even putting a age verification to access porn online.
Yes.
And
I don't even necessarily disagree with this position. I mean, personally, I do, but like logically, I don't think it's a wrong conclusion about the porn stuff. But I just don't see how it's connected. Yeah, right. Like, okay, at least it's not just me. They're jumping around. As he said, if we take away what they want to do, maybe they'll eventually take away what I like doing. I guess, but if that's what they're saying, that is a big jump because they already take away stuff that other people like, drugs, murder, theft. Those are things that people like to do that are taken away. This seems like a very contrived line of thinking. The kind of stuff that pushed me away from Timcast.
in many places and in many states to the point where I think Pornhub pulled out of stopped showing in Utah or whatever because they enforced an age verification,
Shout out to the VPNs. I will you can sponsor me and I will ride that shit. Bunch of these people live in Christian places where they can't get porn. And I will ride for you. NordVPN or ExpressVPN or any of them.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, to that issue as well, again, about sameness, I mean, again, I'm not even putting a value judgment on it, but
yeah, right. Well, I said Evil Knievel couldn't make that jump. Apparently they can.
If we can just have open and honest talks about our true diversity, the differences between.
This is the problem. Whenever bias is, when anti-biases are put in, biases are subjugated and put into the system. Same thing with tolerance. You have to be intolerant. Name of tolerance. The freedom is the answer. Freedom is the answer. Mm-hmm. But in freedom, there's got to be morality. We've lost. Yeah. I'm realizing in this conversation that having conversations about morality is something we're not even doing. And there is a purpose, and to religion too. It has utility. It's good for us. You don't have to be.
Even though it's not true.
Proselytizing, but we need to begin bringing these things back into the common discourse.
And even people who are not religious, because I was saying earlier about there's this protective factor of mental health for religiosity. So I just want to say, even for people who are not religious, even if it's, meditation or in fact, actually my husband.
There you go. It's little things like that. That, okay, let's say most of the country is Christian, and so it makes sense to generalize and say things like pray or go to church or whatever, but just a little line. And for those of you who are not, it's little things like that signify to the individual, me being the individual, that you're thinking about me and you're trying to represent me. And then it also sends the message out to Christians who may have an idea about what an atheist is, just like Andrew Wilson, who thinks that an atheist and a leftist is the same thing, and starts to normalize the fact that there are people who have your values that don't have your same exact beliefs. Well, I said religion with a gun to one's head does not generate ethical behavior. I will disagree with you. It absolutely does. It just doesn't generate morality. Or at the very least, it can generate ethical behavior because people are going to do the right thing, not because they think it's the right thing, because they're scared of hell. I think that's a bad reason, but they are definitely doing it. So they're not acting in a morally consistent way, I guess. Like, they don't think it's wrong, but they know that they're going to get punished. So like if you had, I mean, when I was young, we had TV limits. You know, we were talking about screen time, but TV limits. I could watch 1 hour of TV on a school night. And so then I'd go into my room where I had a TV and I would just put it on mute and watch with the captions on. That generated a different behavior, but it didn't generate, you know, because I could have gotten in trouble for watching TV and not studying. It generated behavior where at least I had my book open, as opposed to just sitting back and watching TV on full volume. What it didn't create is a desire to not watch TV and a desire to study. What's the difference between ethics and morality? So ethics is more, when I hear ethics, I think more of behavioral patterns and limits, and morality is the core of what makes those ethics. So I think, like, it is an ethic of a doctor to do no harm, and the principle or the reason behind that is because it is a moral thing. I mean, that's a clunky way to put it, but they're not the same thing, but they're very, very closely related. Matthew said, doing the right thing because it's the right thing, or because you're afraid to get caught, still leads to the right thing, just the wrong way. Bingo. Exactly. And I am of the position that we can get people to do the right thing because it's the right thing, even though right now they're doing the right thing because they're afraid to get caught, or they're afraid to go to hell or whatever. I think humanity, maybe not the individual person, maybe not every given person can operate beyond that. But if we start with Gen Z and Gen Alpha and you know, Generation Bravo, if it is a societal standard that even though you don't believe in X, Y, and Z, this is how we behave, we're not going to need religion. We already don't. Bryson said, but also having options is the essence of liberty and freedom. The conflict of options and morality can be tough, but absolutely having options as to how you determine that, yes, what we all think is the right thing is, in fact, the right thing. Matthew said, an ethical man knows he shouldn't cheat on his wife. The moral man doesn't cheat on his wife. I like that. So I mean, yeah, I think this is a little bit, you know, this isn't so much of an explanation as a demonstration, but I think this is a little bit closer than what I was saying. But either way, similar, but not same.
Not religious. Like, even if it's, you know, meditation, or in fact, actually my husband, he's not religious, but like he goes to church anyway and like understands. I mean, it's so interesting when you start learning about the Judeo-Christian foundation of our country and, you know, what our founders said about the importance of religion.
And I agree with that, that if you were not brought up in religion, that maybe it definitely would behoove you to go and spend some time at a church. But I spent 20 years in the church. There ain't nothing that they're going to teach me that I didn't already hear. And most of what I heard from there was a very small portion of what actually was in the scripture.
Even those who did not believe still embraced the tenets of it. And so I feel like,
imagine that. So wait. You are telling me that people don't believe in Christianity, but still are able to uphold and embrace the tenets of it? Nah, I don't think so.
There's this hostility to religion. I don't know about you, Naomi, but when I was in school,
why?
Even the way they would talk about evangelical.
Wait. Actually, no. I want to hold you to an answer on that. Why? Because you don't have Christianity without Judaism. Genuine question. Why not? I never said that you were the same, but the values are not solely Christian. They're Jewish and Christian.
Christians, you would think that they were talking about Nazis or straight white males, right?
Oh, yeah, in my sexuality class, we were taught that they call it Christianization is the root of all, like, sexual, not the root of all, but the root of a lot of sexual dysfunction and repression. They blame it on Christianity. But now we're moving to a point where the sexual ethic that we're being taught is just consent. As long as there is consent, it is wrong for us to moralize anything that other people do. And where has it gotten us?
Unless they're drunk and they're a man.
Jazz, what's her last name? Jennings getting a dilator shoved up at her or him.
I was going to say, that's a boy.
And these books being put in classrooms. And we need to stop being scared of saying, no, you know what? Sex is moral. It is a moral act that we do. It is existential. It can bring life into the world. If anything is moral in this world, it's that.
Based.
Yeah. I think one of the issues of moralization is also the logic behind the morals. Why do we hold them?
Yes, they usually.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You don't get the New Testament without the Old Testament. In fact, a lot of us believe that they specifically wrote the New Testament to fit the prophecies of the Old Testament. So I don't understand why. I don't get it. I understand that you as a Christian follow the New Testament more than the Old Testament. Then why does your Bible have the Old Testament?
Have a biological sort of underpinning to them.
I think
they're good for humanity. That's why they exist.
I think the reason you don't teach children how to insert things into their bum-bums is because they could die.
That sounds like Tim just has like he doesn't like that, and he's working backwards from. I don't want people teaching children how to insert things in their bum-bums, which I agree with. I don't want that either. But let's not act like, sticking a finger up your ass is going to kill you. Come on. I mean, gays be fucking all the time. I know all of you have done anal with a girl at least once. So, come on. Come on. Damn, you never done anal with your girl? Never? Come on, man.
You don't have to even go there. Yes, that's true, but it's just that it's traumatizing. All this stuff is traumatizing. Kids have a regulatory capacity. Their brain.
Okay, so I don't think I just want to think for a second and make sure that I haven't said anything on this channel that would identify my high school girlfriend. Because we tried. Well, we did. We did anal once. And you know what? That's an after party. That's a story for the after party.
It's traumatizing. All this stuff is traumatizing. Kids have a regulatory capacity. Their brains are gentle. They're easily exceeded in terms of their capacity. You don't want to do that to a kid. It changes them forever.
So what do you think the future is going to look like with them literally doing it to kids?
What is the future going to look like?
So Gen Alpha, I think Gen Alpha is the next generation. There's about 42 million. So we do have population issues, but this is the generation largely getting these books, these lessons, and access to these videos.
Yeah.
What will this generation be like if the majority of them are experiencing this over
porn addicted? That's an easy one. That's where a lot of it goes.
True. Guys, we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark, and Morty has yet to eat anything. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
I think one of the reasons I was reading about the rise of erectile dysfunction in young men, and the argument is that it's caused by porn addiction.
And in terms of also dysfunction in the workforce, lack of participation, video games, pornography, number 1, number 2.
Bible.
Quality said, you also don't have Judaism without the Zoroastrian monotheism. We don't mention the Zorro shit for some reason. Okay, fair. But that's also not in the Bible. So why is the Old Testament in the Bible if it's not exactly? The New Testament is based on the Old Testament. So that's all people mean when they say Judeo-Christian. They're talking about the Old Testament and also the New Testament. He says, and yes, the belief system is pretty similar, but they do not believe the New Testament is real, in my understanding. That's why they don't say Jewish. They say Judeo-Christian. It's the overlapping values between Judaism and Christianity. That's what that means.
Sales are up 22%, I think. No, I'm serious. And those are first-time buyers. And that's not, there's, plenty of other great, religions as well. So, I mean, to your...
Are there though? I mean, and again, we've talked about the ortho bros, and they are probably a big factor in the uptick in religion, but there is definitely an uptick that we see, but it's just not going to last because we see the watering down of what Christianity actually is. And most of these people are not pious individuals who believe in the sanctity of Jesus Christ and blah, 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 blah. They just are bored or they don't know how to orient their thoughts. And Christianity has a built-in structure.
Your point, Tim, like, where does this all go? My hope is that although where this all goes to.
How does this address what I said? Did I say Jesus is in the Old Testament? Or did I say that there are similarities in the values of the Old Testament and the New Testament? And when people are addressing them, and they're not addressing just Christian values or just Jewish values, they're addressing the overlapping. They use an overlapping word. Y'all getting triggered. You're getting triggered.
Obviously is despair, that when people do reach despair, that ultimately our spirit,
that's the best time to indoctrinate them with some bullshit that we can't prove. All right, I'm going on.
Our humanity, something inside of us will reach out, you know, for what's true, for what's real. And then they'll get served a Tim Cast video, or, you know, they'll pick up, Can I Say That? Or they'll see a Dr. Drew show, or whatever Naomi gets up to
Who
next.
knows what I'm doing.
But yeah, I mean, I think that we have a survival mechanism
there with
that
the
although we can go
heavies.
down deep into despair, there will be some light seeking
provided we don't
parts.
put a government, institutional stuff that
Yeah.
takes over on our behalf. That's when it just becomes
Game
ossified.
over.
So here's my question for the experts. If a child is wired this way over the first 9 years of their life, can they overcome that wiring later in life through therapy? And
I believe, yeah.
I think so. Yes.
Yes.
But it has to be the type of therapy that is not so ideologically driven.
Again, we don't know what it is yet. I think I understand what it will be. And yes, absolutely, this stuff can be treated. But like anything else in mental health, they have to be highly motivated, and getting people to want to participate and do the treatment or have the resources for it. Things aren't covered.
It's the I Am Legend challenge then of what happens when the majority of Gen Alpha says, we all want the same thing at the same time, affirm us. They'll have the political power. They'll vote for
be
it.
affirmed, but I think that once you go deeper and deeper into that affirmation spiral, there is an emptiness. There's a loneliness. You realize at the end of the day, this is just me and my AI girlfriend, and there is a world out there. I believe, even if it's just simply evolution, that there's a part of us that is going to seek to bond and connect and recreate, procreate, with somebody else. It's like a heat-seeking missile part of ourselves that I just think will get activated.
I mean, from a Christian perspective, I think that it's absolutely possible to come back from the first 9 years of your life being programmed in your neuroplasticity, because God, in my belief system, puts something on all of our hearts to seek good and self-actualize if we choose that. But we have to choose it, and there's sure not very many incentives to do that right now.
Meaning making other people. That's the human experience. That's it.
Yeah.
We need to get back to that.
There are a lot of people who are considered degenerates that have found God. A great example is Russell Brand, who was largely viewed as a celebrity degenerate, doing drugs and philandering and all that stuff. And then he got baptized, found God, and now he talks all about it. There are a lot of people in the skateboard community. It's what I know, that were just binge drinking, drug addicted, and now more and more every day there's another guy who's coming out and it's like, oh, he's got baptized.
Yeah.
Let me ask though, is that usually part of their recovery?
And well, that's a good question too. But the question that I have is how long lasting is that? How long lasting is that? Because when you have people, as I was talking about before, that are not necessarily pious, they're just looking for something, then they don't really have an adherence to what the scripture actually is. They just have an adherence to what the scripture does for them. And that gives them the license to kind of form their own thing and call themselves a Christian. And I think that's a bad thing for Christianity. But hey, what are you going to do?
Recovery process. They're doing recovery and then they find religion, or they finding usually it's recovery because again, Russell.
Yeah, well, that was, remember, Papa Lutch was talking about how there was a guy from our tattoo removal business where he was, down bad, just like they're talking about. And he's like, oh, you should have him on the channel. I'm like, no, I don't want to have him on the channel. Let him live. Let him enjoy not being in jail and on drugs. Like, the fact that I don't believe in what he believes in doesn't mean I want to take away what is pushing him to have an interesting, or not interesting, have a good life. Thank you, Matthew. Can you have a good one, brother?
A good example. He was well into his recovery, and then it kept expanding.
But what precedes recovery is hitting bottom.
Yes, they have to want to change. There's a horrible.
But how
there's a horrible.
But I thought that could kill you.
wanting to change comes from hitting bottom. So I'm just trying to
I don't think it needs to be bottom.
No,
right?
but I mean, it doesn't have to be.
It
But I
doesn't
know what you're
have to
talking about.
be. Yeah, I'm just
It could be in the mouth too.
trying to say a saving grace to Tim's, picture about like, well, what about the deepest, darkest parts?
Yeah, it goes bad.
Of what?
It goes
What are you
bad, and that's when
talking
people become motivated to change.
There's a story I like to tell. I met a guy. He was a skateboarder, punk rock kind of guy, and he was very Christian and no drugs and anything like that. And he told me his story was that he used to do a lot of drugs and drink a lot. I asked him, like, how did you end up becoming a Christian? And he said that he was in the woods after a party of just binge drugs and drinking. In the morning, he woke up, went to take a leak, and when he walked, 15, 20 feet away from the group, as he was pissing, he felt a booming voice within his chest say, "Why are you doing this?" And
yeah, that's called your conscience. And this is exactly the same type of shit that cults use. Desperate people who are down bad, and they have the only answer. Christianity is a big cult. Does good things for society, but is a big cult.
Also have an anxiety attack. And then he heard the voice again, "Why are you doing this? You should stop." And then he had this experience and immediately tried seeking answers, reading, what was this? How did I feel? And hear this voice.
And of course, because there's everybody else who's ever had an experience like that, it's like, I heard the voice of God. It's the same fucking social contagion.
And then I think naturally, because you have the majority of religion, the people he came to were priests and religious folk who explained to him divine intervention or whatever they thought it might have been. And then from that point on, he never did another drug. He cleaned up, opened a business.
And that's good. Again, I've never been against the notion that Christianity can do that for people. My thing has always been that we should stop acting like that's the only way.
And started living a healthy and productive life.
Well, now we're talking about these spiritual moments, these moments of clarity, these moments of feeling like something stepped in from the outside. Those people change.
Yeah.
And they have those experiences. Now, there's a lot of routes in that change, but when somebody feels that incredible moment of change, they're extraordinary. I don't know.
So wouldn't it be amazing if we could offer that to people who are Christians and also people who are non-Christians?
What they are.
I believe
it happened for me. I mean, it happened for me before. I was not raised Christian. I was raised very secular. My dad's an astrophysicist. He thinks that it is just silly what I believe. But it was almost a logical decision because I was looking at my life, looking at my psyche and thinking, what is my worldview? Because whatever
it must be Christianity.
It is, which I should probably define, it is not working for me. Living with no faith was actually making me very anxious.
So this is the same thing that I hear all the time. Yeah, I was an atheist for so long, and I thought I knew everything. And then eventually I came back to Christianity. So when you were living that life with no faith and no anything, did you look into anything besides Christianity? Or was Christianity the first thing that you encountered? And because it does offer a spiritual fulfillment, that you think this must be it? I'm gonna guess it was the second one.
Very depressed. The idea that, like, what is my meaning? Actually, what is the meaning of all of this? Having a religion, if not just Christianity, like another religion too, or just a sense of spirituality.
Such as what? So why aren't you that religion?
Connecting to the meaning is so beneficial and nurturing.
Faith, hope, meaning, and something bigger than yourself.
Something bigger than yourself. If you stop looking in, trying to find yourself, I hate that pop psychology term of like, oh, you just have to find yourself. Like, no, it's outside of you.
Well, that's an interesting point too about this whole thing that you're saying, Tim, about the algorithms, that just take you down this like weird, deep, dark hole. And in a sense, from a Christian perspective, I think that would be where you're essentially making an idol of yourself, right? And of course, that leads to kind of a wasteland. But again, the good news, I believe that.
I mean, again, it can. But understanding that, like, all the power to make my existence here on Earth is within myself. It's not a negative thing. It's when people think that, oh, nothing matters because I can do whatever I want. It's this default that if it's not Christian, if it deviates from Christianity, it must be wrong. It's going to hurt you guys.
Our species has survived for, goodness knows how long. I think that there is some part of us, that will snap back.
Well, and every great
snap back to reality. Oh, there goes rabbit.
Myth and great story, whether it's Gilgamesh or Candide, it's always at the very end, what did you learn from your great journey? What I learned was to go back to my community
go back to my computer and my iPad and just sit and stare at Elsa Gate videos.
Participate, or in Candide's case, it was tend your own garden. Just get back to the people you love and get back to your community, be of service, make a difference, and keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a good message to make sure that you're taking care of what you can take care of. You can't control everything. You could definitely control what you can control. And I mean, the fact of the matter is that, again, understanding how the human mind works and how specifically in relation to belief, that is very important, because what you believe dictates how you behave. And if we want to change how people behave, then we have to change what people believe. And you can't force people to believe that everybody believe one singular thing. So you have to offer options. You have to offer options. And that's what we're trying to do. So come through to the Discord server if you if you want to be part of that. That is the way to go. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out with me, guys. Once again, that is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.